You charged in the midfield last time you played the West Coast Eagles and said, where are you tapping at, JJ? And he said, I'm powerless in here. So you must have been really impressed with the way Sam Jacobs really set the tone, and Adelaide really dominating those centre clearances early as a result of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last time that we played West Coast, it was obviously a really draining 10 days for us. So it's one of the hardest positions to play the ruck, and when you're jumping against someone like Nick Nui, if you're not at your absolute peak, if you're not at 100%, it's a really difficult day. So Sammy had great preparation leading into this, and it shows he's just one of the best ruckmen in the competition, and he really acts as an extra midfielder for us around the ground.
Into the finals for the first time since 2012. How exciting is that, with everything that has taken place this season, to know that you'll be featuring in the first week?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't barracking for Collingwood on Friday night. That was certainly a very nerve-wracking 50-point lead at times. So that was really pleasing to make it again. And you obviously don't want to rely on other teams to help you make it, but when they do, certainly you'll take that any day of the week. But for us, it's been a couple of years outside of that September action. So. That's why you play footy, but for us, we've still got to build that momentum. So we've got one more game to go before September starts, and we want to really set ourselves for it. So it's really important that we narrow our focus and make sure that Geelong Saturday 1 o'clock is a real priority for us.
You mentioned barracking for Collingwood. Was your family at that game on Friday night wearing Adelaide jumpers? And how were you approached going down to Kardinia Park next week to face the Cats?
It wasn't, but it looked like a few of my family members.
Okay.
Might have been a few of Ruth's kids.
Well played.
Look, for us, we'll treat it the same as we have the last, all season, basically. We'll prepare as best we can. We know their best footy is really damaging, so we'll prepare as best we can and really put an emphasis on the start for us, because, as I said before, it really is one of the harder trips in footy, so the start will be crucial for us. But I'm confident if we play the sort of footy that we played today, that we're more than capable of getting the win.
There's been some talk that Geelong fans might cheer you, so it might make for an interesting game from a personal point of view.
Yeah, that's not something that really concerns me at the moment. My focus is helping us play finals, and that's the role of every player on our list at the moment. That's our goal, so we set ourselves for that, and the focus doesn't change.
And you did it well this afternoon. 28 disposals and 9 clearances. Thanks for joining us on ABC Grandstand Around the Country, Paddy.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Paddy Dangerfield joining us from the Adelaide Crows rooms, winners by 57 points.
So I'm trying to work out what needs to happen for Adelaide to be back in the first week of finals, and it seems to be pretty simple, because just on what's happened this weekend, Adelaide are up to 7th, North Melbourne's dropped to 8th. So if North Melbourne can beat Richmond...
Well, if Richmond can beat the Kangas and Adelaide win next week, I think Adelaide go to 6th. I think that's the plan.
I think you want Kangas to beat Richmond.
Yeah, no, you need North Melbourne to beat Richmond.
Yeah.
So, because with the Kangaroos losing to the Bulldogs yesterday, they remain on 52 points, with Adelaide up to 54. So they've already gone to 7th this weekend with that win today. And with Richmond and the Bulldogs both 2 points ahead, the Bulldogs have got Brisbane at the Gabba, and Richmond have got North Melbourne on a Friday night. So Adelaide's challenge is obviously to beat Geelong in Geelong, but also if North Melbourne is able to beat Richmond, and the Kangaroos have got the wood over Richmond over the past 2 or 3 years. So that's a definite possibility. The Crows could very easily end up finishing 6th.
I reckon they got a better percentage on that, 57-point wins that have gone.
No, percentage doesn't matter, because
they've got the 2
points.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So that would mean that there's a huge game now on Friday night between North Melbourne and Richmond, because the Tigers could end up finding themselves dropping to 7th and playing Adelaide.
Then there's the West Coast
6 versus 7, and then it would be I'm saying
I don't know if
myself.
Yeah.
Richmond will be jumping up and down about coming to Adelaide again for the first week of the finals, given that at one stage they're on the verge of the top 4.
I don't think the Tigers can drop to 7th, though, because their percentage is 10 better than North, and they're a game in front. So North would have to give them a fair old belting to get.
Yeah, that's true.
To jump in front of them.
And West Coast too. You'd think they'd get over the top of St Kilda. Hawthorn we're going to think would beat Carlton, but gee, you never know. West Coast would want to hang on to the second spot, but now they've exposed themselves.
Yeah, I think they'll be pretty comfortable over the Saints.
So how would Adam Simpson approach this week, Stephen, given that the Eagles have been up for a long time? They've had some really good wins over the last couple of months. They beat Freo in the local derby when most people thought they would drop that game. They were really good against the Western Bulldogs last week, and today they were just blown off the park early, and even though they fought back in the second quarter, it's important that he gets the playing group back up and probably moves on pretty quickly.
I think that's exactly what he'll do. He'll look to... I'm not sure how far Sharad Wellingham is to getting back in the side, so that's some more strength that they can get through their midfield. So they got some other players. Maston, I think, will be back from suspension next week as well, I think. So it just gives their midfield a bit more depth. But, he'll be saying, look, beat St Kilda, and if we're good enough, we won't have to travel again until grand final day. So that would be the way I'd be approaching it, and... they'd certainly be very confident. I know Hawthorn beat them there a few weeks back, but I think they'd be very confident that they could win a qualifying final and then a preliminary final in Perth.
I was just going to say, I've just had a couple of more minutes to work it out.
Done your maths, carry the one.
I didn't want to be beaten by this. It would be the Bulldogs in 5th if they beat Brisbane next week. If Adelaide beats Geelong and North Melbourne beats Richmond, Adelaide would be 6th, Richmond 7th, North Melbourne 8th.
So the Kangas come here.
No, it'll be Adelaide and Richmond 6v7.
Yeah,
with the Bulldogs against North Melbourne.
Tigers might
5v8.
So coming here first week of final.
Yeah, so it's up to Richmond. They need to beat North Melbourne to be guaranteed that they don't have to travel in the first week of the finals.
One of Adelaide's best performances against Richmond here on a Friday night, so... Not sure that would be what Damien Hardwick would hope would play out.
Well, remember last year's final for Richmond against Port Adelaide.
Yep. So Docklands in Melbourne. Sydney lead by 29 points, 7-5-47 to the Saints 2-6-18. That's 13 minutes played in the second quarter. For the majority of our listeners, they're leaving us in about 7 minutes' time. So we might get you to tidy up some of the final numbers. We'll get some of the better players and the votes for the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Okay, so Adelaide 19-12-126 defeating West Coast 10-9-69 in front of a crowd of 53,445. The Adelaide Crows, the first quarter is clearly the talking point. They kicked 8 goals, 3 to West Coast, 1 behind, and they had kicked 7 goals in the first 19 minutes of play. It was quite extraordinary. Overall numbers, Adelaide had 383 disposals to West Coast 305. The clearances were West Coast way, 36-31. Contested possessions, a narrow win to Adelaide, 141-140. And inside 50s, 60-54. So when you look at the overall numbers, apart from disposals, it doesn't feel like a big win to Adelaide, but it's the scoreboard, 19-12 to 10-9. Individually for Adelaide, Scott Thompson had 29 disposals. He had a terrific game, 5 inside 50s as well. Brodie Smith, one of his best games of the year. He had 29 disposals and was 11 rebound 50s. Just shows how dangerous he was coming out of defence. Patrick Dangerfield, who we spoke to before, had 28 disposals. He had only 9 kicks and 19 handballs. Finished with 9 clearances and 15 contested possessions. He had 5 clearances in the opening term to really set the tone. Laird 27, Sloane 25, Douglas 25, and then down to Lynch with 22 disposals. From a goal-kicking point of view, we must mention Josh Jenkins. He only had 11 disposals, only had 9 kicks, but he kicked 6 goals, 1 in a career-best haul. For West Coast, Dom Sheed was the leading disposal winner with 27, and including 6 inside 50s and 13 contested possessions and a goal. Luke Shuey had 25, Gaff 23, Pritis 22, so those 2 key ball winners definitely down on season averages. Rosa had 20, and that's it for for players that got 20 disposals or more. So there's only 5, whereas Adelaide had 7. So they're the main disposals, the key disposals for today's game.
And just 1 for Josh Kennedy, so even though he's most likely wrapped up the Coleman, 72 goals for the season. Jeremy Cameron with a bag, he moves to 61, and I think Taylor Walker jumps in front. He's got 54 and Eddie Betts with 53. Some of the better players, and who's got the votes for the ABC Footballer of the Year?
Oh, just having a look at it actually too, it's really difficult to find the clear 3 best players. I'm going to go 1 vote I'm going to go 1 vote, Scott Thompson. I think just in terms of his game, again, 29 disposals, 7 tackles, 5 inside 50s. Just when the heat's on, he continues to win the football. 2 votes, Brodie Smith. I thought his game today was outstanding just from a defensive perspective. Daniel Talia and Rory Laird as well, the other ones. And I've got to mention Cole Harding, and I thought his game was pretty good also. But when the game needs to be won, Josh Jenkins is going to miss out here, unfortunately, with his 6 goals. But
6 not enough.
Yeah, Paddy Dangerfield. Like, again, you have a look at his numbers. He's 28, and you touched on it, Whitey, as well. I mean, he's had 9 clearances and 5 inside 50. He just continues to win the football to get it down into areas, and he gets it out where other players just can't get it out with brute strength, and he just blows the game away. So 3 votes, Paddy Dangerfield, 2 Brodie Smith, and 1 Scott Thompson. Daniel Talia, Jenkins, Laird,
Apologies.
and many others.
Wow,
Yeah.
plenty of apologies. Now,
I think it might need
Stuff
to be
your
a personal.
sorries in a sack, bro, I reckon.
It might need a personal apology to Josh Jenkins,
Mate.
not just one over the radio.
Yeah, I'll give him one later.
Stephen, you're not done though. I need 3 votes for Western Australian point of view for the Christian medal.
Christian medal.
So if you can run me through who you thought their best.
I might give
3
one
players.
vote to Jack Darling. I just thought he was the best key forward for the Eagles today. He took 6 marks. He had 14 possessions. Didn't kick any goals, which was disappointing. But I thought his work rate and giving them a target up there was pretty good. 2 votes to Andrew Gaff, just his ability to win the ball. He's had 23 possessions, 18 of them uncontested, 4 inside 50s, and I thought Luke Shuey was the best player for the West Coast. 25 possessions to 72%, kicked a goal, had 4 inside 50s and won 9 of those contested.
So 3 to Shuey, 2 to Gaff, and 1 to Darling for the Jeff Christian medal for the best Western Australian player of the season. Adelaide winners by 57 points in front of 53,445 fans here at the Adelaide Oval. The Crows into September for the first time since 2012, and what a statement they made in the opening quarter. 8 goals to none to set up a 50-point lead at the first break. At Docklands in Melbourne, Sydney lead by 27 points, 7-5-47 to the Saints 2-8-20. I mean, in a word, Whitey, it just feels like it's going to be a really exciting final series. Everyone thinks they know what's going to happen, but there's so many questions.
Oh, look, I think it's fantastic. I think this is a season where clearly you can win the premiership from outside the top 4, and it's been proven today that, you know, we're starting to talk finally about the Eagles being a genuine premiership contender, and then they go and lose to the magnitude they did today for a team that's just in the bottom part of the 8. So I think it's wide open. I think it's Hawthorn's if they play their best, but there is an if there with Hawthorn because we've seen them play well below their best at times over the last month.
And especially with a couple of home finals to have a big shape as to how the finals might play out. So for the majority of our audience, you're heading to Subiaco Oval for Fremantle and Melbourne to join Clint Weldon and Corbin Middlemass and the team. Just repeating that there was one late change in that match. Michael Walters is out and Paul Duffield comes in. He'll be the sub, and Jack Grimes is the sub for the Demons. Taylor Walker finished with 3 goals, but it was 6 goals to Josh Jenkins from an Adelaide point of view. Couple to Eddie Betts, Charlie Cameron, and also to Tom Lynch, while Jamie Cripps kicked 2 goals for the Eagles. Next week, as we may mention, Adelaide face Geelong down at Cardinia Park. Interesting occasion with plenty of questions surrounding what will happen with Patrick Dangerfield and his future. And the West Coast Eagles are at home against St Kilda in the twilight on Saturday afternoon. So for the majority of our audience, you're heading to Subiaco Oval. We'll bid you farewell from the Adelaide Oval on behalf of Stephen Williams, Rod Jamison, James Coventry, Adam White, Matt Clinch, bidding you farewell, and we'll chat to you next week.
This AFL Final Series, there's only one team that captures the essence of the game.
Grandstand AFL.
The insights.
We're going to follow the players up the race here as they head out for this initial warm-up.
The emotion.
It's happening every week at the moment, and to be honest, it's frustrating.
The experts.
Do I think it's going to happen? I'm not certain we've got the guts to do it.
And the call.
Right foot drop punt.
Oh, yeah.
Superb.
Grandstand AFL Finals Footy.
Switch on.
On ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Grandstand AFL.
Yep, he's going to go for it. Here we go. Left foot snap, bouncing ball, goal. Straighten up and kick a goal. Into win, coast to coast.
And that is a captain trying to lift his team.
It's probably the best kick I've seen so far this quarter. Eyes the goal and slots it through. That was a super effort.
Grandstand AFL.
He elects the roll around, play on, strolls through and kicks his bib.
To the goal line. Gets with a massive line.
Finish it off from the pocket. Oh, that is
just kept punching it straight into the forward line, putting pressure on everybody.
It's coming back! It's coming back for a goal!
He'll mark, he'll kick from 15 out and he'll kick a goal.
You go one-on-one, you've got to ask your midfielder to step up to the plate.
It might go the journey. It does!
Grandstand AFL.
Oh, I love that.
On ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Welcome to Subiaco, where the minor premiership can be Freo's for the first time if the Dockers down the Demons in the final game of the penultimate round of 2015. The Dockers have had to make one late change for today's game. Michael Walters is out with calf soreness, so a forward goes out, but a defender comes in, Paul Duffield, and he will also wear the vest this afternoon. Ed Langdon will make his debut for the Fremantle side. For Melbourne, a major milestone. Nathan Jones, their captain, plays his 200th game, just the 25th team to reach the milestone. Oscar McDonald also makes his debut and will play for the first time since he was 14 years of age alongside his older brother, while Jack Grimes will wear the subs vest for them. Hello, great to have your company with us. Clint Wilden alongside Corbin Middlemass, our experts, Ken Judge and Andrew Embley for what should be an interesting contest in the West. Fremantle looking to bounce back after losing their past two matches and, as we said, snare the minor premiership for the first time in the club's history, while Melbourne have been dire at times in the recent weeks, particularly their opening terms. They would want to respond, according to their coach, Paul Roos. Corbin, a lot to look forward to, particularly for the Purple Hordes that are making their way into Subiaco, a chance for history.
Exactly, and they've been a club, I guess, which Melbourne find themselves in now, where they're carrying this burden of their history, and Fremantle have never been able to win anything. So for them to finally break through and at least clinch the minor premiership as a great reward for the season they've had, to finally put something in the trophy cabinet at Fremantle Oval. But for Melbourne, as you mentioned, it's been a bizarre week where usually these teams down the bottom of the table drift out of the consciousness, late in the season, and yet they have copped some serious heat this week from their own coach, who's come out and had a go at the club about the negativity from a couple of their supporters. Their performance last week was labelled insipid, soulless, their game plan labelled outdated. So we have to see something from Melbourne today. With 2 weeks left in the season, they've won 2 more games than they did last year. What are we going to get from them, particularly at the start? Their first quarters have been dreadful. I'm keen to see their response today.
Before we hear from our experts in Ken and Andrew, who both wondered this themselves when we asked them off air, what is the reward for a minor premiership? Do you actually pick something up?
You get the McClellan Trophy, which has been rewarded now for about 50 or 60 years. It's very little known, as all footy fans would be aware of. It's a plaque that has almost some sort of it's got the image of McClellan on it, which is almost labelled in some sort of a silver centrepiece in the middle of the trophy, but it's a wooden plaque, basically, is what the minor premiers get, the McClellan Trophy.
Andrew Embley was a minor premier with West Coast in 2005, and yet looked at us when we spoke about this pre-game and wondered what we were talking about.
What do you get? I'm not actually sure what you get, and I'm sure Fremantle wouldn't care less about what they're getting at to the end of the regular season. They're playing some wonderful football this year, we know that. Really important game for the Fremantle Dockers today, in particular their forward line. We know we've spoken about their forward line a fair bit this season. Tabernar has come into the team. He's tried, hasn't probably worked. Alex Pearce has played a little bit forward. I like Alex Pearce, but very difficult for a young guy who's probably trained most off the pre-season as a backman to be thrown in the deep end. I'll throw it out there. I think Luke McFarlane may be an option to go forward, and if he does, it might mean that Pavlich may get the second best forward, Main the third. But we know that Sandlands gets his hands on the football. We know they're going to win a lot of football through the midfield, but just for mine, haven't made the most of those opportunities going inside their forward 50 this year, Judgy.
No, they haven't. They've... particularly in recent times, I mean, they had a fantastic start to the season, obviously, Fremantle, and that's what set their season up, to have got to round 10 and we were on top, a couple of games clear, didn't lose it, but lost one game in the first 10, wasn't it? Was it 9-1 after 10? That set their season up, no doubt, and that's why they're in the position they are today. They win today, they get the minor premiership, and you're right, Embers, it's not something that's going to be, it's great. It looks good. It's great to say you finished on top, but there's a lot of work to be done yet from Fremantle's point of view to capitalise on the opportunity, on the great, on finishing top.
It's something for the supporters more than the club, isn't it? Is that fair to say, Ken?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to say you finished on top at the end of the regular season, but as we know, it all starts again once you do that.
Let's head downstairs. Someone from the Fremantle camp, one of our favourites here on Grandstand AFL, is joined Clint Thomas. Clint.
Yeah, thanks, Clint. Peter Sumich has been good enough to join us pre-game. Now, Pete, you saw up the minor premiership with a win today. Is there any extra or any significance at all with that?
No, not really. Look, we just want to play some good footy. At the end of the day, we played 3 quarters last week, and our last quarter was very disappointing and got beaten in a fair few of our KPIs. So we just want to make sure we're playing a full quarter game this week. And look, if the win comes, it comes. We know what the end result is if we do win. But look, we just got to make sure we're playing our brand of game.
Is that important to string a couple of good games together heading into the finals campaign?
Yeah, look, it is. There's a lot of players who are just on the brink of really capturing a fair bit of good form that they had early in the year. So, they look forward to playing, well today and well next week.
And Michael Walters didn't get up. What was the issue there?
Oh, look, his car pulled up a bit sore and a bit tight. So we left it to the last minute, but we want to make sure he's ready to go next week and, slash finals.
Boys, I'll hand it upstairs to you guys for a few questions.
Summer, Andrew Embley, have you been able to identify a few key areas that you really want to focus on this afternoon?
Yeah, look, our contested ball, Andrew, like I said in the last quarter last week, was down our hard ball gets, and probably, we did get outmarked a few times in our forward 50, and, that's something that the boys pride themselves on, and they did rebound fairly well. I think they kicked 4 goals out of our forward 50 last week in the last quarter, so that's a bit of a focus for us, making sure we lock it in and make sure we fold back and get the ball back inside our 50.
Peter, Ken Judge here, mate. You left Alex Pearce out this week. I've been pretty impressed with him with the stuff he's done forward. I know he probably played, he was put up there out of necessity, but is he a bit stiff to lose his spot in the side?
Again, Ken, he's probably pulled up a little bit sore, Ken. There's probably more of that than him missing out. I agree with you. He's been in good nick and, he's given us something different up there. He gets a bit of speed for his height, 196, and he's got a bit of speed, and his contested marking's been pretty good, but it's a young kid, and I think he's played 11 or 12 games, and we just want to make sure we manage him as well.
Peter, Clint Wilden, can you tell us a bit about Ed Langdon for our listeners around the country, making his debut today for the Dockers?
Yeah, look, one thing he will do is run. He's probably one of our better runners, if not our best runner in the club, and Peel Thunder, he's consistent running over 15 Ks and around the 2 kilometre sprint per game, which is fairly high, and like I said, and he's going to play a little bit of wing, a little bit of half forward, and hopefully he can finish off some good stuff going forward for us.
Best of luck this afternoon.
No worries, thanks boys.
Peter Sumich doing really well downstairs to battle away, considering how loud it is here at Subiaco Oval. Corbin, what is going on out in the middle at the moment?
I don't have the words. These are just large red balls with numbers on them that I think there's somebody inside, is my only guess, and they're being pushed around.
Zorb balls or something? Is that
yes, that are sort of rolling around the Subiaco Oval playing arena at the moment and being pushed by a couple of patrons behind them.
Okay.
Well, good luck if there's someone inside there. They'll be nice and busy when they get out of there.
Including Johnny the Doc. You have seen, there are balls like that where you can actually stand inside and pedal them yourself.
Right.
And they spin around. You see them down on Langley Park every now and then as they...
They're the ones that go across the Swan River, aren't they?
Yeah.
I've seen them go down hills, skiing, that sort of thing.
They go across water, on land. Yeah, it's most unusual.
It is an absolute strange thing to see pre-game. Haven't seen that before. In fact, the Eagle West Coast has got them covered, it's got to be said. Fremantle versus Melbourne, the final game of round 22. The Dockers, of course, playing to win the minor premiership, the first time they will have won anything of significance outside of the Derby Trophy if they are successful today. And that's because the West Coast Eagles went down by 57 points to the Adelaide Crows a little bit earlier today. The Crows 19-12, 126 to West Coast 10-9-69. Updating you with the score at the Docklands. It's the Swans. They're away to St Kilda, and a big lead too for the Swans. 29 minutes gone in the second term there. So as they approach half-time, Sydney a 10-6-66 to St Kilda 3-9-27. So we go from the Dockers camp. Let's head into the Melbourne camp, and Clint Thomas is downstairs with the Demons senior coach in waiting, Simon Goodwin.
Well, Simon, thanks for joining us. Obviously been a bit of talk about the club after last week's performance against Carlton. You must be looking forward to coming out here and putting in a good showing.
Oh, look, we're really excited to come today. You know, it's important for us as a club. We've had a really positive week internally about what we stand for and where we want to go as a footy club. And we are on a bit of a journey, and the last 3 weeks haven't been up to the level. We know that, but we're excited about coming over here, getting away from home, and putting on a performance that really does show that we are a competitive side and that we are heading in the right direction. We just expect to see the behaviours that we're going to expect long term from our playing group, and it really does come down to that competitiveness around the ball and our ability to just actually continue to play the game. The last 3 weeks, our first quarter's been really poor, so it's really just the behaviours that we expect from one another, and that's the expectation that we should have with our playing group, with our coaches, with everyone at the footy club. You've got to actually take a step back and look where the club's been and where it's come from. And this club won 10 games over 4 years, so we've won 6 games this season. We're on the right path with our younger players playing. We've got another young kid in Oscar McDonald coming into the team today, so I think that's exciting for the footy club. So we're clear on where we want to go. How long that takes, we're not sure, but we certainly understand that the building blocks have been put in place, and we just need to see a more consistent effort now. We have let ourselves down the last couple of weeks.
One of those players, I guess, is Jesse Hogan. He's coming home. His first game here in front of family and friends at Subiaco Oval. He must be pretty excited.
Oh, he is. He's got a pretty big family from what I can gather, so he's excited to get back to Perth. He does love coming back and playing footy here and enjoying his time. So he's an incredible player and someone that's invested heavily in the Melbourne Footy Club at the moment. So we love what he brings to the team, and we're looking forward to a big performance from him today.
What have you made of Fremantle over the last few weeks?
Oh, look, they're Fremantle. They play a really contested style of footy. They've been really strong around the contest. They probably haven't been at their best, but they're a quality outfit with lots of experience. So we expect them to be at their best today, and they're 2 weeks away from a pretty intense finals campaign. So we know what we're up against.
Not having Fife in the middle, does that make it any different for you guys, or planning-wise, anything sort of heading in?
Oh, look, it certainly helps. He's an outstanding player. I don't think it would be naive to think that him not playing doesn't help. But, things don't change too much structurally for Freo with him out of the team. They're still a very good contested ball team. They've still got some big body mids in Mundy and Barlow they got through there. So we'll have our work cut out around the middle of the ground, but we've sort of got some plans in place, and we think that we can hold up pretty well.
All right, well, thanks for joining us. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Simon Goodwood downstairs with Clint Thomas. Clint Wilden, Corbin Middlemass, Ken Judge and Andrew Embley with you. Grandstand AFL from Subiaco. The banner for the Demons has been held aloft, and it pays tribute to Nathan Jones. 200 games. Goodness me, he's had some tough times too, wearing the Demons colours. Just 47 wins from the 199 games he's played in so far. That's a winning percentage of 24.3. Ken, Andrew, he's been a genuine warrior of the competition, Nathan Jones.
Oh, he's been a great competitor, very good leader. For a fellow like himself who's been through all the tough times, you'd like to see them have some success, because he has been a great warrior and a great trier, and he's one of those blokes that you look at and you think it'd be nice to see him have a little bit of, just get something out of the game, because he's been such a great competitor.
You'd hate to think players would just get themselves up for a milestone game, but we've spoken about how poor their first quarters, Melbourne, have been over the last 3 weeks. So really important that they come over here and they start really well. There will be a bit of focus on them. But as we know, they're on a journey, the Melbourne Football Club, 6 wins this year. I think they are heading in the right direction, no doubt about that. Jesse Hogan has been brilliant. Jeff Garlett as well. I mean, to put it in perspective, the combination of those two guys have actually kicked more goals than Matthew Pavlich and Michael Walters. So the reason being so far, with a little bit of the supply that they probably haven't got, I think they've been able to make the most of those opportunities going inside their forward 50, Melbourne. So really important they start this first quarter really well. And that quarter time, I want to see them coming in together, giving themselves a bit of a pat on the back and say, come on, guys, 1 quarter down, let's go and do it again.
Lovely touch with Nathan Jones bursting through the banner. His daughter tucked under his left arm. Daddy, number 2, on her back. And he just passes her off to one of the matchday staff for the Demons as Melbourne burst onto Subiaco Oval looking for what would be, as we just heard, their 7th victory of the season. A huge scalp too if they could do something to upset the Fremantle Dockers. And we heard just then from Andrew in terms of those first terms. Last 3 weeks, North Melbourne, Western Bulldogs and Carlton. Their opponents have put on 21 goals, 9, 135 to Melbourne, just 3 goals, 4, 23 if you add up the first quarters of the past 3 weeks. So Melbourne have been blown away, really, before they've been able to just work themselves into the game. The Dockers about to enter the arena as well. And quick question in terms of Fremantle. Ken, how did you assess them for the last couple of weeks? And would you be concerned, particularly if you're a Dockers supporter, or, depending on how Ross Lyon feels, do they have the confidence, the belief in themselves that they can still play a genuine part in September and October?
It's ridiculous we're talking about it, really, isn't it? When you sit, you're a side that's going to finish on top. They win today, they finish on top clearly, and yet we're all questioning where they're at. And I think that's only as a result of how well they played earlier in the year, and I don't think they've got to the same kind of levels later in the year they did then, but they're getting the results. Good teams find ways of winning, and they've been able to find ways to win. I mean, I don't really think that Melbourne are going to be a great challenge to them today, but you never know. And if Fremantle are not quite on, then maybe Melbourne can challenge them today. But, yeah, look, I think that's the concern, and we're all wondering, are they going to be able to find that form they had earlier in the year? Because that form they had earlier in the year was as good as any side in the competition during the whole year. If we assess how they played earlier in the year, that was as good a footy as anyone's played this year, I reckon. And we just haven't seen it coming from them recently.
And that's that all-out, frantic, hitting the scoreboard, scoring heavily, which they didn't do in previous seasons.
Well, it's that, and then they played with that manic pressure and that sort of thing, and and sides weren't able to cope with it. And we're not seeing, I don't believe, that same kind of intensity, that same kind of form that we had earlier in the year. I just don't think they've revisited that for a while now.
It's fascinating.
And having said that, we saw it in the first quarter probably last week, but then it fell away again.
Particularly in that final term, but 100 plus points being kicked by Fremantle. Up until round 8, they'd done it 5 times, including round 8. Since round 8, that game against North Melbourne, the last time they kicked 100 plus points, haven't been able to achieve that mark. And if that's regarded as one of those marks that you have to hit to be regarded as a premiership club, the Dockers have been a long way short of that in recent weeks. Is today, when you're up against an opponent like Melbourne, the opportunity for you to try and genuinely hit the scoreboard and try and get some of that belief back in front of goal?
Fremantle need to kick 15 goals today. Now, Michael Walters is obviously out of the side, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But again, they need to try something, and that's why I have thrown out Luke McFarlane going forward, because he's that marking guy. He can kick goals, but again, if he's not marking the ball, he's bringing the ball to the ground, which is going to allow the Crummers to come in and at least lock that ball inside their forward 50. They really got hurt by North Melbourne last week from rebound 50s, from guys not being able to mark the ball, and then how easily North Melbourne were able to run the football out. So I'll be really watching that particular bit of the game today.
Andrew and Ken Judge, our experts here on Grandstand AFL. Let's get their thoughts in terms of how the game will be panning out. Who'll play on who will do what, who will win. We suspect they'll both be tipping Fremantle in that one. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, as we discussed just a few minutes ago, that the win assures Fremantle a top spot. So I think it'd be nice from Fremantle's point of view to win it, get it out of the way, and then they can consider what they want to do next week, whether they want to rest some players, whether they, how they go about things. But a loss today, and I don't think that'll happen, just throws that a little bit up in the air, doesn't it? Throws a bit of a cat among the pigeons, really. So I think they'll get the job done here today, even though they're missing a couple of players. No Fife, no Walters, who are very good players for them and great contributors. I'm just not sure about Melbourne, where they're at. I've seen at stages during this year where I thought Melbourne were on the right path and improving, and then I see them put in some ordinary performances where you think, gee, that's going back to it's 18 months, 2 years ago stuff, So they've won more games this year, sure. Whether they've won enough games, more games, I don't know. I don't know what they do. So they need to be competitive here today. This is the toughest road trip in footy now, playing either West Coast or Fremantle here at Subiaco Oval. They've got some exciting young players. I mean, I like Jesse Hogan, young boy coming back to play here. Probably favourite to win the Rising Star, I would think. So he'd be keen to do well coming back here in front of his home crowd. I like Jack Viney. I think he's a really good player as well. I like Christian Salem. I think he's got some ability as well. So Salem will play through the midfield. But the challenge they've got is to try and beat the more experienced midfield today of Fremantle. I know there's no Fife, sure, but they've still got Mundy. They've still got Lockie Neal, who's a really good player. So it'll be interesting to see how Melbourne go in those particular areas here. They've put in a few shockers this year, Melbourne. Let's hope they don't put one in today.
Maxi Gordon, Sandlands will be a really good battle, really important that big Maxi can halve some of those contests, and guys like Nathan Jones. Bernie Vince is always an interesting one.
Good player.
Who will he go to? I think he'll probably go to Mundy today.
Yeah, he's a good player,
with
Bernie
Fife being
Vince.
out, and he's had a really good year. He's obviously a defensive midfielder, but we know that he will get off, he will push forward and kick goals as well. Jack Viney's a good player, and we've spoken about Hogan and Garlett. Hogan's work rate's been really impressive this year. He'll get up the ground. He'll love the spaces here off Subiaco Oval. He'll get up nice and high, and then he'll work hard back towards goal as well. So really important that Melbourne start well in this game. We've spoken about it. Heart of the contest, winning the contested football, really taking it up to Fremantle, going in at quarter time, full of confidence. That's what I want to see from Melbourne.
The other thing is we've got to go back to round 5, MCG, and I mean Fremantle were probably playing their best footy then. That was when they were playing, and they got Melbourne by 68 points on that occasion there. So that's not a great form line to be coming here and playing them here. Although I don't think Fremantle are playing at that same kind of level they were playing in round 5.
Well, they haven't won here, Melbourne, in their past 15 games. You've got to go back to round 11 of 2004 for the Demons' last victory at Subiaco. So more than a decade since they've tasted success in the West. And, of course, Fremantle also got a long winning streak against them. They've won their past 6. Melbourne's last win was round 13, 2011 on the other side of the country. Let's get a feel for what the conditions are like downstairs. Clint Thomas is on the boundary today for us. Clint.
Yeah, g'day guys. As you mentioned, September's just around the corner, guys, and today's weather is reminiscent of September and finals football. It was really sunny. It's a bit of cloud cover that's just come over the ground in the last few minutes, but excellent conditions for footy. A slight breeze favouring the city end of the ground, but not too much breeze to think of. No excuse for skill errors. A beautiful day for footy all round. I've also got the benches for both sides. For the Dockers, Gary Kibberts, Michael Barlow, Clancy Pearce, and the late inclusion, Paul Duffield is the sub. And for the Demons, Alex Neilborn, Matt Jones and Ben Newton will start on the bench, and Jack Grimes is the substitute.
Thank you, CT. The Swans lead by 39 points at half-time at the Docklands over the Saints. St Kilda are 3-9-27, Sydney 10-6-66. And just repeating earlier today, the Eagles crushed by 57 points by Adelaide. So just repeating, the minor premiership up for grabs today for the Fremantle Dockers if they can down the Demons. Melbourne wearing their away strip, got the white shorts on and the predominantly red top with the Melbourne Football Club emblem on the front. While Fremantle in the traditional all-purple with the 3 white chevrons across the chest. Fremantle versus Melbourne here on Grandstand AFL. Matthew Pavlich is back for the Dockers. Nat Fyfe misses out, though. How will Fremantle go without them as they try to arrest a 2-game losing streak, particularly disappointing in the last term against North Melbourne last week. And Melbourne have been dire in recent games. Really difficult performances against the Western Bulldogs and Carlton. So Fremantle, certainly as far as their supporters are concerned, an awful lot to play for today as they try to lock in top spot for the finals. Shake of hands between the two captains in the middle, Matthew Pavlich and Nathan Jones. Jones in his 200th game. Will he win the toss? They pause. Umpire will have to stand over it to have a closer look, and still they discuss which way the coin has fallen on the Subiaco surface. They're going to have to do it again.
Must have landed on its edge.
Must have in the centre circles. And Nathan Jones does get a victory in his 200th game, and he points towards the 3-tier stand. That's to the right of our broadcast position and the Subiaco end of Subiaco Oval. He'll go back, his team in a tight huddle inside the forward 50 at the city end of the ground. The Dockers ready to go as well.
Done a bit more homework, Clint, on the McClellan Trophy. So, Judgy, we asked you about it earlier. The reason you probably don't remember it is it used to be rewarded up until 1991 for the best team across all 3 divisions.
That's right.
Yeah, the same way that the McClellan the Rodriguez Shield is here in the West.
Exactly. It was under 19s reserves and league. Absolutely.
Yes, yep, for the 3 grades. Then in 1991 onwards, it's been awarded to the minor premiers. Obviously, quite a low-key award named after William McClellan, who is a former administrator and VFL footballer.
So Ross Lyon, the Fremantle coach, had a bit to say this week about how his side is going, but certainly less than what Paul Roos had to say, firing up about the veil of negativity that hangs across the Melbourne Football Club. Will they be able to knock that veil away today? We're about to find out. Ross Lyon has never lost to Melbourne in his coaching career. He's coached 12, won 12. If he makes it 13 against the Demons today, the Dockers finish top and claim the minor premiership. The fireworks explode for what it's worth on the outer side of the ground. They always create more smoke than fire. We're about to get underway. Grandstand AFL around the nation, and Corbin Middlemass to get us started.
And the smoke clearing. Umpire Margetts to get us underway. Fremantle looking to wrap up the minor premiership. And how long can Melbourne hang with the Dockers out west? Up it goes in the middle. Sanderland's first touch on the footy went over Neil's head. Viney first centre clearance for the Demons. Kicks to centre half forward. Unkind bounce for Sheridan. Watts taps it back into traffic. Hogan tackled, taken to ground. The umpire calls for it.
Jack Watts and Jeremy Howe both starting forward for Melbourne.
Duffield in for Walters, the only change for both sides. Up it goes, 20 out for the Melbourne goal. Mundy for Fremantle to Dawson to Sheridan. Hand pass back to McFarlane. Defensive goal square to Johnson in the pocket. Back to Mzungu. Kick smothered. Ricochets out of bounds. A throw in the pocket. The two subs, Paul Duffield to start in the green vest for Fremantle. And for Melbourne, Jack Grimes, their former captain, in the vest today.
Ball to be thrown in. That forward pocket for Melbourne. Going against Sandilands, they collide. Sandilands wins it down two-handed. Put it on turn to Mundy. Hurry kick beyond defensive 50. Taken it left half forward by the Demons. Salem kicks towards full forward. Hogan out, couldn't mark, got dealt with, came to stretch. Great tackle at the last moment, holding the ball. It's been rewarded, and it's Langdon with his first involvement. He wins himself a free kick. They elect to play on, and they'll move it into the right back pocket. It comes now to Subin. The Dockers pop the hand pass over the top. This is McFarlane, back to Subin, hard up against the boundary line. Real pressure came from Mitchie, had to go back again. Melbourne might force a turnover here. Sheridan took possession of the football, got tackled by Howe, comes out the back to Spencer. The Demons have it through Cross. Moving it on to Viney, back towards Nathan Jones. The milestone man thumps it long. Hogan front position, carried that, and Johnson took the mark at the back for the Dockers.
So Hill through the middle of the ground for Fremantle. Not a great kick, turns it straight over. Garland swings a hand pass to the debutant. Here's Oscar McDonald. Sends the Demons inside 50, turns it over. Spur takes the intercept mark. Centre half back for Fremantle. Heads to the half back flank to Langdon. Is the other man making his debut for the Dockers. His second touch, a short kick down the outer wing to Pavlich. Back from that Achilles injury. Goes back to Spur. Still at right half back. Kicks down the outer wing, out in front of De Boer, reaches it on the bounce off his chest, close to the boundary line. It's out.
Well, no, it's only early, but I've liked the numbers that Melbourne have had around the ball at most of these contests, so that's a good start. Whether they can continue with that, whether they can maintain that kind of pressure for the whole day, time will tell.
Ball spun back in. Gorn got to it. Tapped it down. Viney goes back by hand to Jetta for the Demons. Now to Jones, outer edge of the centre square. Ran himself into real trouble. Mzungu affected the tackle. Ball was knocked away. It came to the ball. The Dockers have it through Subin. Kicks the right half forward. Pavlich was fouled. It'll be a free kick. Got knocked out of it by Dunn. Holding decision against the Melbourne player. So Pavlich will move it across half forward. Short onto Neil. He'll put it inside the attacking 50. Wanted Main. Couldn't find him. Backing back. Dawn takes the defensive mark between fullback and centre half back for the Demons. Scores level. No score. 3 minutes gone opening term. Grandstand AFL from Subi.
Gorn dishes it off to Garland. Some indecision. Kicks across the goal mouth. Misses the target. Awkward pick up for Cross. In the back pocket. Ships it further afield. Out in front of Dunn. The ball rolls out of play. Boundary throw in. Deep in Freo's attacking 50.
See, that was all a bit too cute there from Melbourne, those couple of efforts.
No score either way, 3.5 minutes in. A stoppage inside the Dockers forward 50 from the throw-in. Sanderlands taps it down. McDonald, that's Tom. Back in the other direction. Hill, hand pass to Sheridan. Kicks on the outside of the boot. Everton in the hot spot, takes the mark. Always looked like he was going to mark it. Read the ball best in the air. And Everton hugs it to his chest. He can have a set shot, 20 out, slightly left of centre.
Well, he started on the bench, Everton. He looks like he's gone forward when he's come on, actually, here. Taking a nice mark. Not usual for him to be having shots at goal, so I'm interested to see how he goes.
Full of defenders, Fremantle with their mix that they've named today. So Everton sneaking forward. And a chance to kick his first of the season. He does. And the first of the day. Fremantle won straight. Melbourne yet to score. 4.5 minutes played at Subi.
Looks like he's going to play forward.
Judgy. Yeah.
Given that their makeup, one of them was, you'd think was going to have to play out of position, weren't they, with Fremantle's mix?
Yeah, well, I didn't expect it to be him, but he's there.
First goal for Garrick Ibbotson since round 9, 2013.
They just rushed that ball forward there. Fremantle, good pressure, and Ibbotson just used his body really well, protected the space, took a good mark.
Interestingly enough, that also was against Melbourne. So Garrick Ibbotson doesn't mind going forward against the Demons. Fremantle lead by 6 points, 5 minutes gone, opening term. That one down by Sanderland. Subin stretching, couldn't gather. Vince going through, took possession of the foot. He got tackled immediately by Mundy, and the ball will be balling up. Umpire Dean Margetts takes it back.
As expected, Bernie Vince has got the job on Mundy.
Yep.
Sandlands off his fingertips, down towards Barlow, got tackled by Viney, just got the hand pass out. Dockers have it through De Boer. They go backwards on centre wing. Not sure where to go with it. Was Clancy Pearce, ended up kicking it straight into the chest of Garlett. Garlett for the Demons. Clever kick around the body, bounces out to Newton, who just grubber it along the ground inside the attacking 50. Hogan in hot pursuit of the football, can't keep it in. Over for a boundary throwing deep in the right forward pocket for the Demons. Fremantle's lead, 6 points, 5 and a bit gone opening term.
Said a bit too much on that. He was looking for Hogan. Hogan had got away from McFarlane. Just over-kicked and out of bounds.
A brilliant season, Jesse Hogan, really his first year of AFL footy. 39 goals for the boundary throw-in. Won it down Spencer to Viney. Hooks the kick right to the goal mouth. It's punched through. And a minor score. And there's a bit of feeling in this. There's been a couple of little scuffles break out. Mzungu and Jones a short time ago, and then Johnson and Hogan after that rush behind. Melbourne's first score, Freo 1 straight.
Kicking from Johnson is short to Spur. Deep in the left back pocket. He'll send it across the face. Had to be precise, he was. Found it Sheridan, who marks. He'll run down the line. Beyond defensive 50. Good wrestle on there. Hands to it was Sutcliffe up against McDonald and tumbles over the boundary line for a throw-in. Perfect conditions for football. Chance of a shower, according to the Weather Bureau, but no signs at the moment. Blue skies, a few puffy clouds about us. It's thrown back in. Clancy Pearce was behind the ruckman, tried to gather it and push it forward. Barlow gets tackled by Viney. Coming out of there at right half back for the Demons, so be balled up. An aggressive player, Viney. Both rucks had a little bit of a touch. It came to the ground. Salm's kick didn't go anywhere in particular. Diving in Newton, tries to knock it away off his shins. Spencer over it as well. He's been wrapped up too by Griffin. Coming out again. So on the defensive point of the centre square, right half back for the Demons. Another ball up.
Up it goes. Spencer, first hands on the footy. Hit 4 in the VFL last week. Still yet to clear the stoppage. Daniel Pearce pushed off it. Now Tom McDonald wins the ball for Melbourne. Hand pass out across to Salem on the outer wing. Going forward for the Demons. Sends a high ball inside the attacking 50. Spur takes the mark. That's his second for the game across in front. Swings a hand pass away to Langdon. Gives it to Sutcliffe. Runs out of room. Back to Sheridan. Cuts through the centre of the ground. Looking for Daniel Pearce. Awkward pick up. Diving in on top of it. Daniel Pearce trying to retrieve his own footy. Now a chance for the Demons. Comes out to Newton. Hand pass at the back to Viney. Dishes it off looking for Neil Bullen. Neil just knocks it on for the Dockers and they win the footy. Main hand pass back to Barlow. Kicks out wide to Griffin. And Griffin marks beneath the scoreboard on the outer wing. Turns and kicks long down towards Pavlich at half forward. Dunn there with him and Dunn gets a hand on the footy. It's out of play. Boundary throw-in. 55 out from Freo's goal. The Dockers by 5.
Melbourne's intensity has been pretty good. Just got to be careful about that kick going inside their forward 50. Fremantle have got a loose behind the football, and the last couple of entries have actually gone straight to that loose.
Thrown in. Spencer won it down, came to the Dockers. Kick was smothered from Daniel Pearce. Back to Melbourne. Daniel Cross got there to McDonald. Tom McDonald sweeps it right back to Lyndon Dunn at full back. He'll put it into the right back pocket. And this is Oscar McDonald on debut. Fascinatingly taken at the same pick as his brother, both at pick 53. Oscar in the 14 national draft. 4 years earlier for his brother. The kick was touched as it's down the line. Off hands, big pack underneath it. Bounces out to the Dockers. Ibbotson sweeps a hand pass inboard. Griffin sends it inside attacking 50. Pavlich will get the free kick. He was being held. Attempted slip catch at full stretch to his right. Didn't work out, but the infringement is against Tom McDonald, and Pavlich can go back and have a shot from about 35 out on a slight angle left of centre.
Actually, it wasn't a bad kick from Griffin there for a big bloke. And it was just slightly to Pavlich's advantage, so the defender actually ended up interfering with him and gave away the kick.
Matthew Pavlich, 36 goals, 27 for the season. 8 times a leading goal kicker with the Dockers. It's a slow and deliberate approach. Sends it towards goal. You'll tell from the reaction the captain has kicked his first major of the afternoon. The Dockers second. 2 straight 12, 10 gone opening term. Fremantle's lead is 11 points on Grandstand AFL.
Good start by Fremantle, finding plenty of the football through the midfield at the moment. Ibbotson got himself involved again. He's looking okay at half forward. And as Judgy mentioned, just a good spearing kick going inside forward 50 to the advantage of Pavlich, and didn't mark the ball but got the free kick. And the champion full forward goes back and kicks a good goal.
Came 333 today for Matthew Pavlich. Moves inside the top 20 in AFL VFL history. Made his debut against Melbourne way back in 2000 at the WACA ground. Kicking 2 goals. He's got 1 already. In the middle, Griffin wins the tap down to Barlow. Hand pass off to Mundy, a little too hot. Still a loose ball inside the centre circles. Free kick spotted, a throw. It's Melbourne's free kick in the middle of the ground against Mundy. We'll come all the way back to Bernie Vince.
Quick update at the Docklands. 6 minutes gone third term. The Swans lead by 34 points over the Saints.
It's given just about every player on the ground the time to get ahead of Bernie Vince. And Mundy, who stands the mark. Vince now the closest to the goals at the city end. Melbourne off to the Austin Robertson end of this opening term. Comes out to the logo to Dunn. Backs back, takes his kick. Looking for an option. Heads wide to Newton. Takes the mark. The boy from South Fremantle, Benny Newton. First year at the Demons from Port Adelaide. Just loads up off his preferred left boot. Kicks out to half forward. Howe flies for the footy. Falls down front and centre to De Boer. Knocked away to Griffin. Still on the bottom of the pack. Melbourne somehow come up with it. Howe pass back towards Jones. High up and under. Inside 50. Tough one to mark. Mzungu bounces off his chest. He was pushed into it. And a free kick to Tendai. 20 out from his defensive goal line. The Dockers have it deep in their defensive 50.
Good courage from Mzungu.
He was good there, wasn't he? That high ball coming in, never
they were
nice
coming
to get
from
under
everywhere
that.
at him
They
too.
were. Hogan was charging, but showed good courage to put a good contest on.
Tendai to Johnson. Now to Barlow, who's beyond defensive 50 at right half back. Puts the Dockers down the line. Pavlich wanted to fly.
Push.
And the free kick will go the way of Pavlich. He got the shove as he went up into the air, and he'll have the ball on true centre wing. Out of sight of the ground. He'll move it short. Finds Ibbotson. Rare goal kicker for Fremantle today. Their opening one. Goes back inboard to Johnson again. Johnson just pumps the pass to the lead of Barlow. He's at right half forward. He'll go inside attacking 50. Didn't have enough on it. Courage shown by Viney. Backing back. Arms at full stretch. He took the mark in the left back pocket and will switch play towards the right back pocket where Howe marks. He's got it for the Demons, who are content. Just wait for a moment. See what's on offer. Comes down the line. Gawns up. Dawson with the fist from behind. Over the boundary line for a throw-in. Just shy of the interchange gates. Commentary wing. Fremantle's lead is 11 points. 13 gone opening term.
Consecutive games for the first time this year for Zach. An interrupted season with injury and suspension. And the throw-in. Gawn wins the tap down to Viney. Wrapped up by Mzungu and Mundy. Still going. Dishes it off. Straight to Daniel Pearce. He's got it on the bottom of the pack. The umpire circles. Still lets them go and calls for it.
One thing Zach Dawson does do really well is he's prepared to leave his man and push up and put good spoils on. He did that really well just before.
Freo come away with it from the stoppage. Subin away to Clancy Pearce. Run down. Garlett's got him. Great chase and tackle. And Garlett wins the free kick for the D's in the middle of the ground. Fremantle with the first two straight to one behind. Short kick to Watts. Played his 100th against Freo earlier in the season, Jack Watts. Not a heap to go to. He kicks backwards and across the ground to Dunn. And Dunn on the southern wing. Heads out wide with the kick to Jetta.
Fremantle worked really hard to get a lot of numbers back at the moment. This is the reason why Melbourne are just chipping the ball around, just trying to maintain possession of the footy.
Jetta short along the boundary line. Mark taken by Viv Mitchie.
All but 2 players in Melbourne's half of the ground.
Mitchie back to Neville. Neville Jetta just gets it to him between wing and half forward. Still not a heap up ahead. He's got a lead from Tom McDonald. Ignores it. Heads out towards the boundary line to Vince. Vince is about 65 out, creeping closer. Just about every player in the attacking 50. So Vince just sits it up towards the hot spot, looking for Spencer. Off hands, falls to Clancy Pearce, lost him in the tackle. Tom McDonald passes through traffic. Mzungu, hand pass to Griffin, back to Mzungu. In the back pocket for Fremantle, there's another pack form, and the umpire will call for it again. So a ball up in the left forward pocket for the D's. Freo by 11 points, 15 played in the first.
Throwing aloft, Gawn won it down, but it was straight to Subin. Got a hurried kick away before he was tackled by Mitchie. Lands at centre half back. Oscar McDonald couldn't mark it. Pavlich over the top of it. Tried to work it out by hand to De Boer. Salem got in the way. Won it for the Demons. Dunn shrugs one tackle onto Newton from centre half forward into the right forward pocket. Dockers with the numbers. Well done, Johnson was running back with the flight of the football. Came over his left shoulder. Was able to stick out the arms and cradle it into his chest. Goes on a bit of run across full back and then spots a teammate in Sutcliffe who marks. Meter him from the boundary in the right back pocket. He'll pause again. He could switch play back across the face of Guy if he wanted to. Langdon was there. That's ignored. He'll go long. Beyond defensive 50. Decent battle on. No mark taken. Mundy gathered at the back of the pack. Hand passed inboard. Found Daniel Pearce. Kicks towards centre wing outer side. Opportunity for Jeddah. Couldn't quite mark it. Over the top at Matt Jones. Subin goes in as well. It's locked in. Push in the back. I'll get the free kick here, the Dockers. Subin will bounce up. And he'll have the ball just inside the outer edge of the centre square.
Comes across the ground looking for Sutcliffe, who's drifted forward. Mark 60 out from goal. Feeds a hand pass inside 50. Chance for Sheridan if he can straighten up. He does. Shanks the kick. Misses well out to the right. I think it's pitched inside the field of play and rolls out. Boundary throw in.
Absolute shocker. Actually could have ran in even closer.
Had so much time, didn't he? Just lacked a bit of awareness there, and the kick was absolute shocker.
So a boundary throw in, still a chance for Freo. Deep inside their forward 50, slips out the back. Pavlich is there, grabs it, pulled off it. Hand pass away towards Subin, gives it to Sanderlands. Now to De Boer, hands it back to Clancy Pearce, to Daniel, trying to get his leg free. Steps around one, pokes a kick forward, ends up with Pavlich off hands. Hand pass away to De Boer. De Boer squeezes a kick through. Barlow has to pop it through on the line. Under pressure, it was touched off the boot. And Barlow does enough right on the goal line to kick Freo's third. Just slowly working the ball forward, Freo. It results in their third major. 3 straight to 1 behind. 17 played in the first.
Wasn't pretty. It was quite ugly, actually, but they just kept the numbers at the ball and kept going forward. And in the end, the goals resulted from it. So, you know, sometimes it doesn't have to be pretty. You just got to get the end result, and they got the end result there.
Knock on Sir John.
Knock on Sir John Corby, that's exactly right.
Goals are like jewels. You get them however you can. Fremantle by 17. 30 minutes gone in the third term at the Docklands. It's the Swans by 41. 11-8-74 Sydney. St Kilda 4-9-33. Bounce in the middle. One down by Sanderlands. Taken by Mundy. Got tackled to ground by Vince. Ball jarred out the back. Sanderlands on hands and knees. Shoveled it behind himself. Clancy Pearce couldn't get there. Sheridan could. He got tackled, but got a hand pass away first to Subin. Goes back for the Dockers to Neil. Kicks to the logo out of sight. The ball marks. Plays on by hand. There's Subin again, who's been busy in this term. Inside the forward 50. Backing back Main. Couldn't take the mark. Good spoil. Came from Jeddah. Chance for Salem to kick beyond defensive 50. Straight to Subin again. Shrugs one tackle at right half forward. Puts the Dockers onto Hill. Spears it towards full forward. Missed his target. Langdon was there. Chance to clean up. Jeddah was involved once more. Then Vince goes beyond defensive 50. Turns it over though. Spurs got it at left half forward. Dockers now through Mzungu. Back to Dawson. Hand passes to Sutcliffe. Spears the ball. Inside attack in 50 and Langdon is marked.
He does cover some ground, this kid, doesn't he?
Well, Peter Suich said he can run. He certainly can do that.
The kick from Bernie Vince coming out of his defensive 50 was just really poor. Had Howe towards the boundary line, long kick, get the ball out of bounds, set up for a boundary throw-in, but in the end he just tried to pull one through the corridor and Fremantle had all the numbers.
There was no one there, was there?
Ball goes back inside 50 and Ed Langdon.
On Deboo, his first involvement was a tackle that won a free kick. Can he kick a goal from right on 50? He has given it plenty. It's off target though, missing to the left-hand side. Minor score. You get a warm round of applause too. for his efforts in just getting inside the attacking 50. Fremantle's lead is 18 points, 19 gone, opening term. Grandstand AFL, Clint Wilden, Corbin Middlemass, Ken Judge and Andrew Embley with you downstairs. Clint Thomas this afternoon.
So the kick in heads out wide for Melbourne from Salem, bounces off the shins in the end of Gawn and out of play.
See, there's just some worrying signs. You're just starting to feel as though Fremantle are going to take some control here. And if they can get another 2 or 3 goals, it's going to be a bad start for Melbourne again.
3-1 to 1 behind. Oscar McDonald standing alongside Pavlich on debut. The boundary throw in picked up by Mundy. Hand pass away to Sheridan. Goes back to Barlow on the wing. Kicks down to half forward. Sandilands, the one-hander.
Big fella.
If you don't mind. Pulls it in with the right hand. Dishes off the hand pass to Daniel Pearce. Sits it up in the Pavlich direction. 15 out from goal. Ibbotson flies. Falls front and centre to De Boer. Tackled. Lost it. Now to Pavlich. Clancy Pearce. Hand pass to Barlow. To Main. Hand pass further afield to Daniel Pearce. Outside of the boot. He kicks their 4th. Fremantle have got the first 4 after 20 minutes. 4-1 to 1 behind. Those ominous signs, Judgy, just looking a little more
the ominous signs
shady.
are, mate. There's 97 possessions to 51. That's very ominous. And Fremantle are just starting to really put a stamp on this game at the moment. This could be really ugly for Melbourne in this first quarter, and it's something we've seen from them recently that hasn't been good. You don't want to be coming to Perth and being 7 goals behind at quarter time, I've got to tell you, because a 7-goal quarter time lead results in a 100-point loss probably.
Have a look at contested football too. 32 to 16 in favour of Fremantle.
Double them, yep.
Clearance is 10 to 5, so not just winning the football, they're prepared to put their head over at the moment. Freo. Sandlamb's well on top on Gawn.
Now he's up against Spencer, wins it against Sandlands, trying to work it out towards Barlow. Got harassed off an umpire sponsor free kick. It's a high tackle, Freo's way. They'll take the advantage through Barlow, who sends it inside attacking 50, but only finds Jetta, who marks defensively, gave it to Dunn. The Demons towards the centre wing, running with the flight of the football and marking Viney. Was at full pace and full stretch. Just grabbed it inside the interchange gates. He looked to move it on short. Backing back, Vince takes the mark. Matt Jones wanted it to be given to him inboard, not to be from Vince. Instead, he'll put it long and high into the right forward pocket. Numbers underneath it, they go up. Howe tempted to go for the fly, couldn't quite rise up into the air. Garland, has he kept it in? Surely not in the right forward pocket. He hasn't. Late whistle, instead it'll come back to be a throw-in. Probably fortunately for Melbourne, because Garlett's hurried shot at goal missed everything to the right-hand side. So neutral ball, right forward pocket for the Melbourne Demons, who trail by 24 points to the Dockers, 22 gone opening term.
So for the boundary throw-in, Sandilands and Gawn. Gawn reaching over the back. Free kick spotted. A hold. It's going Fremantle's way. It'll come back to the ruckman, Sandilands. Fresh from his
He's
jewel.
proving a bit of a handful at the moment, Sandilands.
Kicks to the defensive goal square to McFarlane. He can go short, straight down the middle to Subin. A couple against Melbourne when they met back in round 5. Comes out wide to Daniel Pearce, the goal kicker from moments ago. 4 goals to zip. Pearce long kick down the wing. Pavlich just on the interchange, crashes the back, falls down the cross. Quick hand pass to Oscar McDonald, to Garland, to Watts. Along the boundary line, down towards Gawn, reaches for it, slips out the back to Mitchie. Mitchie's run down by Barlow, caught holding the ball. And Barlow jumps up with a footy at left half back for Freo. 9 inside 50s apiece.
He's been good, Barlow. I reckon he's been just out of form a little bit recently, but he's had a good start so far, 10 possessions.
All the way back to Sutcliffe. The switch is on. He kicks it out towards half-back. Dropped at Ibbotson. Picked up by Newton. Short kick to Hogan. And Hogan has it at centre-half forward. About 80 out. Pokes the kick inside 50. Looking for Viney. Missed him. Picked up by Garlett. Works around. Back onto his back by hand. Goes towards Jones. Dawson tried to clean up Jones.
How's that not a free kick?
He's been pinged for holding the ball, Jones. Dawson came flying through looking to try and take out Jones. Jones slipped. And I think he's clipped him on the back of the neck.
Well, I've got to tell you, he might be in a bit of trouble again. Dawson, first game back.
How does the umpire not even give a free kick for that? He's going to get reported, and the umpire hasn't even given a free kick away.
Dawson's legs got Jones on the back of the neck, and it's probably fortunate Jones fell over, otherwise he would have absolutely ran straight through him.
So a free kick was there, but it went the other way, and the Dockers will bring it beyond their defensive 50 now. Sheridan has done well. Langdon had to travel about 50 metres. He marked on his chest. Wheels around from centre wing, puts it towards half forward. Gorn front position against Griffin, takes a good mark. Did well for the Demons to cross.
Good pressure, Main.
Now to McDonald. Main kept going. He just got the hand pass away, did he? No, a throw against Tom McDonald. A free kick for Main.
Good chase, good pressure.
Saw the opportunity, Main, and rang Tom McDonald down. So Main, we put him boot to ball from just inside the centre square. He'll go short, caressing the ball out towards Barlow. Not a great deal closer to goal, Barlow. He'll switch play, heading to the outer side. Spurs there, tacking point of the centre square. We'll put it long towards full forward. Big pack there. Flying was Griffin. Off his hands, Main. Got it down to Neil. Hand pass backwards to no one in particular. Vince knocked it into the path of cross, then to Salem. Main continues the pressure. Watts pops the hand pass to Newton in a bit of space. Now back to Nathan Jones, and Jones will go beyond defensive 50 to the outer side.
Looking for Howe. He has to spoil in the end. Caught at the back and the ball's out of play. 100th game next week for Jeremy Howe. Become the 151st Melbourne footballer to reach the milestone. And a boundary throw in. Gorn taps it down, but straight to Clancy Pearce. Hand pass back to McFarlane on the wing for Freo. Kicks into the middle of the ground looking for Hill. Out after the footy that runs away from him. Hand pass to Mundy. Eventually gathers in the shadows of the light tower. Kicks down to half forward. Awkward one for Clancy Pearce. Tom McDonald head over the footy, bumped off it. The ball held into the pack and the umpire calls for it. 60 out from Freo's goal.
Dockers lead is 24 points, 26 gone opening term. Bright sunshine at Subiaco. Griffin won it down. It came to Mundy. Wobbly looking kick inside attacking 50. No mark taken. Big group of players underneath it. Bounced out towards Salem. Puts Melbourne towards left half back. Howe at full stretch diving forward. Good mark. Not the high fly you expect from Howe, but a fine take nevertheless. Off a step. Goes towards Oscar McDonald, the younger of the two brothers out there, and he takes a mark at centre half back. Both of them been under real pressure in defence today so far for the Demons. So McDonald towards Garland, beyond defensive 50, short to Jones. He marks. Right half back. Oh, misses his target. Jetta at centre half back. Bounces out towards Ibbotson. He can chip inside attacking 50. Had two Dockers who could raffle it. Comes down to Pavlich. Gathers, snaps and goals. Disaster for Melbourne. Pavlich gets his second. And the Demons are unravelling in the dying stages of the opening term. Freo's lead is 30 points. 26 minutes gone first quarter. The Dockers are 5-1. Melbourne 1 behind. Our experts Ken Judge and Andrew Embley.
Went back into the corridor again there from Jones, over the head of a player, and just opened the whole forward line up for Fremantle, and easy goal in the end. So you're going to go back in there, you've got to hit your targets, don't you?
Their ball movement's very slow at the moment, Melbourne. We know Fremantle get numbers back behind the football, but just don't see anyone from behind running, trying to play on, trying to link up, trying to at least move the ball quickly.
Aggregate in the opening quarters for their past 4 games now, 26 goals to 3. In the middle, Mundy runs into a little bit of trouble, soccers it forward. Melbourne win it though with the numbers. Tom McDonald to Jetta to Viney, sweeps a hand pass to half back to Dunn. Further afield, looks for Newton, pushes off Clancy Pearce, grabs his jumper, hand pass away towards Dunn, hooks a kick down towards half forward, bouncing footy unkind for Neil Bullen, sits up for Dawson for Fremantle, hand pass to Barlow, trying to get it back to Sutcliffe. It's out of play. Throw in at half forward for the D's. Dying stages of this opening quarter. Fremantle with 5 straight. Melbourne yet to kick their first goal of the game. Free kick called, non-controlling umpires going Melbourne's way. Will come to Jack Viney, 70 metres out from goal. A left footer. The son of the former captain Todd, and kicks it inside the attacking 50, turns it over. McFarlane takes the mark uncontested. Hand pass to Johnson, to Daniel Pearce at left half back. He's kicked a goal in this opening term himself. Heads to centre half back to Neil. Hand pass to Clancy Pearce. Pearce at centre half back for Fremantle. And another disastrous start for Melbourne. Goalless in the opening quarter. Fremantle 5-1-31. The Demons one behind.
You touched on it a second ago, Corbin, but in terms of the opposition against Melbourne in their last 4 opening terms, opposition teams 26 goals, 10, 166. Melbourne 3 goals, 5, 23, a difference of 143 points. The Demons are dire in the opening term. So too it has been again today. Fremantle 5-1-31, Melbourne 1 behind. The goal kickers for the Dockers, Matthew Pavlich has got 2 singles to Ibbotson, Pearce and Barlow. Quarter time at Subiaco. The Dockers at the moment on their way to the minor premiership. This is Grandstand AFL.
Coming up this week on Nightlife, all across Australia.
G'day, Tony Delroy. Exciting week on the Nightlife. Monday, a look at the challenge of step families. Tuesday, customer service expert Martin Gunstein. Midweek, Centrelink chief Hank Yongan is back. How to get the best air travel deals on Thursday, and spring cleaning. Shannon Lush, Friday.
Nightlife. On ABC Local Radio, digital radio and streamed online.
Grandstand AFL.
Hill, hand pass to Sheridan, kicks on the outside of the boot. Everton in the hot spot, takes the mark. Always looked like he was going to mark it. And a chance to kick his first of the season. He does. And the first of the day. Hand pass away to De Boer. De Boer squeezes a kick through. Barlow has to pop it through on the line. Now to Pavlich, Clancy Pearce, hand pass to Barlow, to Main, hand pass further afield to Daniel Pearce, outside of the boot, he kicks their fourth.
This could be really ugly for Melbourne in this first quarter, and it's something we've seen from them recently that hasn't been good. You don't want to be coming to Perth and being 7 goals behind at quarter time, I've got to tell you, because a 7-goal quarter time lead results in a 100-point loss probably.
Out towards Ibbotson. He can chip inside attacking 50. Had 2 Dockers who could rattle it. Comes down to Pavlich, gathers, snaps and goals. Disaster for Melbourne. Pavlich gets his second.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
We're at Subiaco Oval and the Dockers are making it look easy at the moment. In the other game at the Docklands, 28 minutes gone in the third term there. St Kilda are 4-12-36, trailing Sydney by 63 points. The Swans 15-9-99. And in the earlier game today, Adelaide by 57 points over the Eagles. 19-12-126 the Crows. The Eagles 10-9-69. Freo by 30 points at quarter time. It's happened again for the Demons. One of our experts made of it. Ken Judge and Andrew Embley.
Yeah, well, I was actually happy with the way the Demons started. I thought they had some good numbers around the contest, and I thought, they're going to make a bit of a fist of this, or at least be competitive. Well, I reckon by about halfway through the quarter, Fremantle just took complete control. And when you have to look at the possession count, 129 to Fremantle, 82 to Melbourne, they just started to dominate play and took absolutely complete control. And unless Melbourne can arrest something here, they could be in for a fearful hiding here today, I reckon. But to my way of thinking, Embers, Fremantle look much slicker. They look much... they've got a handle on the game. Melbourne, on the other hand, they've tried to go back through the corridor a couple of times and missed targets, which happens often when you're not a great side. If you don't hit your targets, you get killed by the really good sides going back the other way. So, and Fremantle, I reckon, have been pretty good. They've put them under some reasonable pressure, often enough in that quarter. And as I said, as a result of that, there's been a couple of turnovers and it's cost them dearly, Melbourne. So they've got a chance to regroup here. They need to regroup because they were average by the time that quarter was getting towards the end there. And we saw another poor performance early by Melbourne. And it's just, you just can't come to grounds like this when there's such a big challenge to be competitive in these games and give up 5 goals to none in the first quarter.
Just dominated, didn't they? Fremantle getting plenty of football through the midfield, well on top Sanderlands. Melbourne's pressure been right off. They've allowed Fremantle 63 marks in that first quarter. That's incredible. They're just flooding back. They're trying to get numbers back behind the football. But the problem with that is that Fremantle are just so clever. They maintain possession of the football. There's no pressure on the ball carrier. It allows Fremantle to go inside their forward 50 under no pressure and hit up targets. Pavlich has presented himself really well. Main has too. Their pressure's been good. Ibbison's done some good things in the forward line as well. And as we know, Fremantle set up so well behind the football. So when Melbourne have had possession off the ball, they've chipped around. No real run, no real urgency. And then that final kick, when they do decide to go inside their forward 50, they've just given the ball straight back to the Fremantle loose. And then from that, we know Fremantle will spread. They'll link up and they move the ball so quickly into their forward line. So just want to see Melbourne put a lot more pressure on in this second quarter. Really need to start halving some of those contests around the midfield, because that's where they're getting smashed. Just watching Paul Roos at the moment, really just giving the players a bit of a spray, and they deserve it, because we've spoken about their first quarters. We were watching quite closely to see how they would respond, and unfortunately they haven't responded in the first quarter.
He was pleading with his demons, Andrew. You're right about Paul Roos. Some of the stats in terms of total disposals: Fremantle 129 to Melbourne 82. The kicks to the Dockers 66 to 42. The hand passes 63 to 40. The marks 32 to 21. The inside 50s are very close though. 12-11 in favour of Freo. The contested possessions 42-24 to the Dockers. The clearances 14-7 to the Dockers. Melbourne have had more tackles, 20 to 14. Individually, Barlow's had it 13 times, Subin 11, Sheridan 10, Pavlich 9, Spur 8, while for the Demons, Viney and Cross with 9 apiece, Jetta and Dunn 7 each, Salem and Newton with 6 disposals. Second term underway, Freo by 30 points.
Gone reaching over the back, gets the first touch of the footy, falls down towards De Boer, hand pass out in front of Langdon, lost it back to Hill. Hand pass further afield from Mundy. This sets De Boer into a little bit of space. Can have a bounce. 60 out and half forward. De Boer goes with the centering kick towards the top of the goal square. Griffin flies. Falls front and centre. Pearce turns back onto his left. Kicks on the outside of the boot. Dobbs his second. What a start for Fremantle in the second term. They picked up where they left off. Let's head down boundary side. Clint Thomas.
Yeah, called Demon skipper Nathan Jones in a lot of trouble behind play. He got his ankle caught underneath him in his tackle. In a lot of pain in the hands of the trainers at the moment.
He knew he was in trouble too, Jones. Tried to get up, immediately went to ground, made a few more steps, went to ground again, needed the help of the trainers to get off. I know the goal's been kicked in the meantime, but that's an enormous blow for Melbourne, who are already in real trouble, Ken.
Oh, they are, and a clever play again by Pearce. That's the second time we've seen him use the outside of the boot just to kick a goal, but some worrying signs here for Melbourne.
Bounce to restart. One down by Gawn in the middle, but sharked by Neal. The Dockers gave it to Mundy, back to Hill. He'll wheel around from the defensive edge of the centre circles, finds Subin. Beautifully weighted kick. Subin marks, plays on, sends it to full forward. Pavlich at full stretch, couldn't mark. Will go again, the skipper, under real pressure from Jetta. Langdon is there at right full forward. Not sure if that was an attempt to have a shot at goal or whether he was trying to put it across the face. Whatever it is, it's taken a bounce at left full forward and gone over for a boundary throw-in. The Dockers lead us 36 points, 6-1-37. Melbourne 1 behind, 2 gone second term. Real concern still downstairs for Jones.
Sanderland's reaching for the back. Both rucks went up for Freo. Falls down to Viney. His kick smothers. Was smothered. Ricochets back towards Hill. Overruns the footy. Viney a second go. Hand pass to Watts to Howe. Against the boundary line. Kicks down the outer wing to Tom McDonald, who's playing forward. Outstretched takes the mark. Now this is the big kick. There's not a heap up ahead. He's got Spencer short. Garlett's leading 150 metres away, calling for him just to kick it long. As McDonald looks inside, some indecision, misses his target. Sanderlands picks it off for Freo. Hand pass to Clancy Pearce, to Mundy for the middle of Subiaco. Here's Neal, waits for someone to run alongside, gets Mundy. Hand pass out wide to Daniel Pearce, drifts forward of the wing, kicks inside the forward 50. Griffin a little nudge. Hill keeps his feet. His opponent goes to ground. Hill mops up, snaps off his left, decides to send it to Pavlich, picks up a half volley. Hand pass back to Neal, settles from 40 metres out and kicks their 7th. Freo have the first 7 now, 3 minutes into the second term. 7-1-43 to 1 behind.
Melbourne's ball movement so slow. The kick from Jeremy Howe was a wonderful kick. They had their forwards playing really high. All they needed to do was get the ball long and let their forwards run onto it. They held up. In the end, they've gone for a kick through the corridor, turned the football over, and as we know, when you turn the football over against good sides like Fremantle, they'll make you pay. And again, they go inside their forward 50. Another goal, 7 goals to the Fremantle Dockers to start this game.
Any update on Nathan Jones? Clint Thomas is downstairs. Clint?
No, just keep watching him at the moment. He's still in the hands of the trainers. Got 2 or 3 physios and doctors working around him at the moment. So they're going to try and get him back on, but it looked pretty bad as he was walking off.
Ankle problem for the milestone man in game 200. His Demons in real strife as the clearance comes from the Dockers. Mundy kicks towards right half forward. Main turns one way after gathering the bouncing footy, then the other, then back again. Hand passes towards Hill. Oh, he got away from Cross. Hill will put it into the right forward pocket. Pavlich leading out, he marks.
Gee, we just saw Hill at his best there. Little shimmy, sold the dummy to an experienced player too, if you don't mind, and turned him inside out.
Starts with another easy clearance though. Centre bounce clearance. Just getting smashed out of there at the moment, Melbourne. Mundy, the big guns getting involved. Stephen Hill just showed some magic on the boundary line here. Great composure. And then just the kick to the lead of Pavlich was really good.
So Matthew Pavlich, it's from a tight angle in the right forward pocket. He'll be kicking from about 25 out. Metre in from the boundary. The captain steers it through. He's got 3. They have kicked the first 8 of the game. Fremantle are humiliating Melbourne at the moment. 5 gone second term. The Dockers are 8-1-49. Melbourne 1 behind.
Gee, it's like a training run at the moment. Bit of token pressure from the opposition. Fremantle flipping the ball around when they like. Nice hit-up lead there to Pavlich. Converts the goal. Just it's closest thing you'll get to a training run, I reckon, right at this particular moment with the pressure that Melbourne are putting on.
Eight goals to zip. 48 points the margin. Back in the middle, Sandilands wins the tap. Neil Bullen runs into the ball, lost the footy. De Boer picks it up off the deck. Hand pass back to Barlow to Sheridan. Kicks down to half forward. Mundy's got it. 60 out from goal. And Freo are going inside 50 again. There's the kick. Pushes it up towards half forward. And Hill takes the mark. 45 metres out.
Just watch their forwards at that last centre bounce, just playing too deep for my liking. And what Fremantle are doing is that they're feeding back a lot, and there's no pressure from the half forward from Melbourne coming up, which is allowing Fremantle to again link up, go inside forward 50 under no pressure. They're just doing this way too easy at the moment.
Hill's going to have a shot here. Left peg against the boundary line. 5 metres in for Fremantle's 9th. Kick on the way across the face. 8-2-50. Melbourne 1. 6.5 minutes into the second term.
2 minutes gone in the final term at the Docklands. The Swans lead the Saints there by 64 points as Melbourne goes short to Neil Bullen to Oscar McDonald. Hand pass over the top. Newton got tackled by the board. Jarred out though. Dunn's there for the Demons. Got tackled and lost it himself. Now it's a holding decision that's going Melbourne's way here. Dunn.
That's handy for Sydney with that percentage-wise. They need to get a bit of a boost in percentage, don't they?
Decent battle with them and the Western Bulldogs for 4th spot. So ball's to Gawn at left half back. On to Jeddah. Now to Cross. Kicks towards left half forward. Hogan couldn't quite mark. Spur did well. Put enough pressure on him to see the ball to ground. Picked up by Mundy on centre wing commentary side. Dockers have it again through Spur, who elects to go backwards to Sheridan, who's got it at right half back. He'll wheel around and switch play towards left half back now. Subin. Marks thought about playing on, then does step forward and gets away from Neil Bullen. That was disappointing chase from the Demon. Kick to the outer side. Hill has it. He's marked just shy of centre wing. The Dockers leaders 49 points, 7 gone, second turn.
Hill short to Ibbotson. If you've just joined us, Pav's back. He's kicked 3. The Dockers have kicked the first 8 of the game. Melbourne haven't got their first yet.
Oh, the umpire, Clark of the course, fell off his horse.
It's our mate Dean Margetts too, just entertaining the locals. McFarlane across the half-back line to Spur. Short kick down the wing to Sheridan. Straightens up to Langdon. Or should we call him Ed? The famous number 26 for Freo, following Kepler and Clive. Here's Langdon. Kicks straight down the pipe to Pavlich. Marks attacking edge of the centre square. Turns, heads inside 50. Lockie Neal. Marks uncontested inside 50.
Too, is it?
A nudge from Gawn after he took the mark. Neal's not going to take the kick. He just sits it up towards the top of the goal square. Big Aaron flies and takes the mark. Plays on and goals. if you don't mind, from the big 7-footer. A ninth for Fremantle. 9-2-56. The Demons just a solitary behind. 8.5 minutes into the second term. Clint Thomas downstairs.
Yeah, not great news for Melbourne. Nathan Jones is trying to do a few run-throughs in front of me. Still limping on that ankle. He's just gone up the rooms for more treatment.
Well, we've had 8 minutes in this quarter, and they've gone inside 56 times to none. Fremantle. And kicked 4 goals.
Almost world record pace, a goal every 2 minutes.
We love world records here.
We certainly do. Bounce in the middle. Tap was one down by Griffin. This time it went out to Vince. Did well for the Demons. Was surrounded. Got a hand pass out towards Jetta. Beg your pardon. Garlett. Garlett kicks towards half forward. Now Melbourne have got a free kick here. Spencer was taken high. And he'll have it. Thought about hand passing to Garlett, who ran behind him. Instead, he'll kick it long inside the forward 50. Wobbly looking kick. Didn't quite have enough on it. He would have liked. Johnson off his hand, spilled down. Mitchie has a very quick snap at goal off a step. Misses to the left-hand side from right full forward. Minor score. They've doubled their score, the Demons. They're out to 2 behinds. Fremantle on 9-2.
Well, the actual score, the 1 point before, was a rush behind.
It's true. Their first one through off the boot.
Clancy to the back pocket to Johnson. Johnson to the top of the defensive goal square to Spur. And I'll head back around the northern side of the ground. Kick out very wide to Mundy. Just marks it inside the paint. Should bring the boys from Guinness along one day, Judgy. See if we can break a few records.
Yeah.
Get our name in the book. Back to the defensive goal square to Sheridan. Heads to the opposite flank to Johnson.
Got the new copy of that during the week.
Yes.
Very sparkly, the cover.
Okay. Short kick out of the defensive 50 to
Did
Clancy.
we get a mention anywhere?
Me?
No, did we?
No, sadly.
Clancy Pearce, left half back. All the Melbourne players back in front of the footy, so a short kick to Daniel Pearce.
I could give the pie eating at half-time and nudge, I reckon.
Well, you've had a couple of challenges recently. Lockie Reed, when he's taken your place, has been put a fair old dent in him too. Don't worry about that.
Pearce, long kick down the outer wing. Sandilands drops the mark, robes his own footy. 2 in it all. Hand pass to Clancy Pearce to Neil, and now Johnson. Johnson kicks down to half forward for Fremantle. Cross floats through, takes the defensive mark. Wants to move it on quickly, and he does. Hand pass away to Tom McDonald. Goes running through centre half back.
Takes a bounce and then kicks towards left half back. Stretched, did just that, and then dropped it. Scooped up at right half forward by the Dockers. Sutcliffe. He'll look for the captain. Had a bit too much on the kick. He's able to go there and gather. Got tackled. Hand passed into the goal square. Mzungu was there, and he kicks the goal. 10 unanswered goals for Freo. It is an absolute rout. They're 10-2-62. Melbourne 2 behinds. 11 and a bit gone in the second term.
10 goals from 7 goal kickers, so that's a good little spread. And well done to Pav. Pav was a bit stiff there. It only had to be beat to him. He could have been kicking for his 4th, but unselfishly gave the ball away to Mzungu, and the goals resulted.
Just a mistake from young Stretch down here.
Went to ground, didn't he?
Couldn't mark the football, fell over.
Went to ground,
when you fall over, you're out of the contest.
Lowest half-time score for the year, Melbourne, 1-3. Still a bit of time left in this second quarter yet. Only 12 minutes played, and Fremantle have kicked 5 goals for the term. It's happening quickly. And back in the middle, Viney gets a hand pass to the outer wing to Watts. Dishes it off to Garland. A Garland short kick away to Stretch. There's Billy Stretch. Takes the mark low down, turns and kicks to right half forward. Gawn crashes the pack, falls out the back to Clancy Pearce of the Dockers. Hand pass away to Sutcliffe. Dishes it off to McFarlane, back to Clancy, away to Neil, back to Clancy again. Hand pass to Subin. They link up the Dockers and then hit Pavlich out on the lead. He's at half back though. Hand pass away to Ed Langdon, not a heap to go to. Gives it back to his captain. Dangerous hand pass back inside. Tom McDonald picks it off. He's tackled straight away. Ball comes out to Barlow, stripped it from him. Hand pass to Mzungu in traffic. Still on the bottom of the pack. The umpire will call for it now. He does on the logo.
Gee, I'm not sure what Pav was doing then. He was a bit ambitious, wasn't he, trying to handball that thing that far.
10 goals to zip. Nathan Jones is in the rooms with a concern on his leg. We'll have more on that later.
Tap was down from Sandilands. Got it to Neil. Kicks quickly to right half forward. Garland with the defensive mark for the Demons. He'll switch play from left half back to right half back. This is Garlett. Takes a couple of bounces. There's his second now. Still shows a clean pair of heels and sends it towards right half forward, but straight down the throat of Ibbotson. Disappointing kick. Ibbotson to the outer wing. Barlow couldn't mark, bounced off his shins, tried to get a hand pass away into traffic. Vince will go in, looking to lock it in. He and Matt Jones will do just that. Ball up, out of sight of the ground.
Just can't get their hands on the football at the moment, Melbourne, but when they do, just turning the football over. Poor decisions going forward.
From the restart, Subin emerges with it, gave it to Neal, now to Hill, just chipped short. Barlow marks on centre wing, a metre in from the boundary, moves it on towards Langdon. It's been strong on Deboo, certainly can run, does that, and then kicks inside attacking 50. Not a great kick. Back there is Howard defensively, scoops it up, forced to retreat, clever hand pass to Garland. He'll hand pass again towards Vince. There's a player down, beg your pardon. It was McDonald. Vince is the player down. Goes back to Matt Jones. Now to Garland again. Stabs it towards Oscar McDonald, who marks and will switch play into the left back pocket. Ball is allowed to bounce. They'll look to bring it beyond defensive 50. No real emergency here from Salem. 2 bounces. Then a short hand pass to Mitchie. Former Docker himself played 1 game with Freo. Short to centre wing. Watts, who's on the ground, marks.
Watts along the boundary line to Newton. Ben Newton. What a heap to go to. He's just going to pick a dangerous target. Back in the corridor, 2 demons collide. Spencer got the path across, who took the mark. Hand pass away to Mitchie. Mitchie kicks inside 50 to queuing up. Garlett takes the mark on his chest. Right half forward, 10 in for the boundary line. He'll kick from about 40 out, looking to pop through Melbourne's first.
And one of the few times they've been able to maintain possession of the football there, Melbourne. They were patient, was good, risky kick going inside the middle of the ground, but when you actually hit targets and then move the ball quickly, then the other side of the ground opens up, and Garlett had worked hard into it.
36 for the year. In his first year at Melbourne, Jeff Garlett, he slots it, and Melbourne have got their first. They've seen 10 fly through at the other end, and 16 minutes passed in the second quarter, but Melbourne finally have their first goal. 10-2-62 Fremantle. Melbourne 1-2-8.
Well, I just used the ball a bit better that time going inside 50, and that's how it's resulted in a goal to them. But, gee, they need a few more of those at the moment, the way they're going.
So Pab's got 3 for Fremantle. They lead here by, 9 goals, 54 points. And the news out of the Melbourne camp, a lower left leg injury to Nathan Jones. So he's disappeared down the rooms. Haven't seen him since. Jack Grimes is warming up, but still has the green vest on.
Tuffield will have the vest for the Dockers. Yet to see him. He was the late inclusion with Walters out with calf soreness. So Sandlands won it down, and the Dockers got the clearance, but they've been pinged for a throw. So the ball will come back towards Melbourne, and they'll take it through Gawn, who gave it to Garlett. Sends the ball towards right half forward. That's a nice grab to Mitchie up against Daniel Pearce. Mitchie for Melbourne will just pop it inside attacking 50. Oh, Howe was almost stopping there, allowed Subin to go back and gather it. Up in the left back pocket, going back Dawson, dangerous hand pass. Hogan picks it up. Now to Watts, he'll snap around the body from right full forward. What a terrific goal! It's come from a turnover, but Watts has taken the most of his chance. He would have had almost no daylight to look at. That is a fine major from Jack Watts. And Melbourne have gone back-to-back after conceding the opening 10. Fremantle's lead cut to 48 points, 17 gone second term.
Well, they did use the ball better again there going forward, and it was good pressure by Melbourne on the Fremantle back line. They actually forced the Fremantle defenders to go backwards. They couldn't go forward at all. In the end, outnumbered them, and Watts has converted with a nice snapshot.
Shades of the earlier game, perhaps, Judgy. Might just go on a run here, Melbourne.
West Coast and Adelaide.
Yes. And kick a bunch in a row. Back in the middle, Gawn wins the tap down for the Demons. Gang tackle. The Dockers in the middle. It's Pavlich. He's starting inside the centre square. That game earlier, a 57-point win for the Crows. Sydney well out ahead over the Saints. And Buddy put on ice in the red vest. And the restart, Gawn tries to get the clearance, kicks it straight up in the air. Newton floats through, grabs the footy, not 15. Mundy wraps him up, takes him to ground. Another ball up alongside the centre circle. So 48 points, Fremantle's lead. Melbourne have kicked the last 2 after the Dockers kicked the first 10.
Sandland slaps it down for Freo. Hill got it to Sheridan, kicked around the body to right half forward. Main got hands to it, couldn't mark. Spilled down to Tom McDonald for the Demons. Got a hand pass to Salem. Got tackled by Mzungu over the boundary line. Strong play from Mzungu. 8th game of the season for him, with a goal to his name this afternoon. Tendai Mzungu. Ball to be thrown in at right half forward for Freo. Spun back into play. Sandlands again. Palmed it behind himself. Mundy was there for it for the Dockers. Clancy Pearce. Hand pass to Spur. Hand pass to Hill. Hill from just shy of centre half forward. Goes inside attacking 50. No mark to be taken. Mzungu will try to gather. Short hand pass in the right forward pocket. Pavlich. Centering kick from the captain. Couple fly. Griffin was one. Couldn't mark. Pearce gathered. Got tackled and lost it. Main affects the tackle as well. He's wrapped up a Demon who's been surrounded by players holding the ball.
Holding the ball, yep.
Stood in the double spot, who was underneath all of that, and I think it's Matt Jones, but he was immediately set upon. It is Matt Jones, and he was surrounded the instant that he received it, and then made no effort to get rid of it. That's why the holding the ball decision is given to Chris Main, who's right in front and about 45 metres out. Clint Thomas is downstairs.
Yeah, just quickly, boys, the Demons have made the call. Jack Grimes is into the game, which would suggest that Nathan Jones is out with that lower left leg injury.
No one else is wearing the red vest. The old process of elimination, it certainly didn't look good as he made his way off the ground, Nathan Jones. And from the moment when it appeared that his leg was caught under a docker, tried to get up and simply couldn't. Tough way to finish your 200th game. Chris Main, he kicks on goal and he punches the air with the right fist. The moment it leaves his boot, it never deviated. A goal to Main. Melbourne's fight back stops at 2. Fremantle, they've got their 11th. 11-2-68. Melbourne at 2-2-14. Fremantle leading by 54 points. As we hit time on in the second term, and probably the earliest this year, the Freo chant rings around Subiaco.
Matty Pavlich looks like he's moving really well today, Judgy.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Really presenting. He kicked the 3 goals.
Might appreciate that week off.
That kick on the boundary line there, he could have had a shot at goal, but did the discipline thing.
So 11 goals to 2. All seems a little played out as Fremantle is completely in control, chasing the minor premiership this afternoon, given the earlier result. Viney tries to take the tackler with him. He's held up.
Swans by 79 points, 16 gone. Final term at the Docklands against the Saints.
So join Hawthorn on 64 points. 2 behind West Coast. Punched it forward, the Demon. Saw Spur a little slow. Spencer ran him down, caught him holding the ball. Howe takes his advantage, kicks it inside 50. Mitchie at full stretch, can't mark. Chance for Watts, jumps on top of the loose footy, goes to ground. Tackled, comes out eventually to Stretch. He's held up. Taking the ground. Ball up.
Well, better pressure there by Melbourne. Good tackle. Forwards coming up, playing their role, but again, just that kick going inside their forward 50. Should have hit a target there, Melbourne.
One down by Spencer. Came though to Barlow. Hurry kick away. Now, this might be almost deliberate, is it? No, not quite. No, it is deliberate to the outer side. Took a long time to make the decision. There was no one there for Fremantle, and Barlow had time to measure his kick. Hit the boundary line. So the free kick is awarded. Cross for the Demons. Goes back towards centre wing. McDonald will then share it with his brother. So Tom to Oscar. And then they move it to Garland, who's forward of centre wing commentary side of the ground. He'll trot back into the shadows of one of the light towers. Garland down the line, leading up strongly and marking. This is Howe, marked on his chest. He'll just pop it into the left forward pocket. That's worked better. Chance now for Vince to go back and have a shot at goal from deep in the left forward pocket. Did have to shield his eyes from the sun, but did well to take the mark. Just found himself free.
He's had a good year, Bernie Vince. He hasn't done a lot so far today, really. He's trying to play a run-with role when he's on the ball on Monday.
10-4 for the season for Vince. Kick looks like it's okay. It just sneaks inside the left-hand goalpost. So from a very tight angle deep in the left forward pocket, Bernie Vince kicks the Demons' 3rd of the afternoon. Freo's lead cut to 48 points. 23 minutes gone second term. The Dockers are 11-2-68. The Demons 3-2-20.
Probably wins their best and fairest, I reckon, nearly at Melbourne. Bernie Vince. I like him as a player. He was a good pick-up for Melbourne. Unfortunately, he just hasn't got enough teammates who are supporting him, I reckon.
As you said, yeah, going head-to-head with Mundy at the moment. Mundy's up to 16 disposals. I think Bernie Vince has had...
He's had 6.
6, yeah. So maybe it might be an opportunity to let someone else go to Mundy, because really, for me at the moment, Melbourne need to find some guys in the middle that can actually find the football and start linking up.
Here's Barlow, tackle taken down. Another ball up in the middle. Bernie Vince, one of only 3 in Melbourne's 22 that have actually played in a win on this ground. All 3 for other clubs. And in the middle, Grimes comes up with the footy. He's the sub who's on for Jones. A sour way to end his 200 to kick out towards half-back. Missed the target and cross. Hand pass away to Dunn, to Mitchie. Turns back onto his left-hand side. Hand pass further forward to Dunn. They peel off. And short kick down the wing finds Neil Bullen. Bullen kicks it straight into Clancy Pearce. Hands who was running through at full stretch. Hand pass to Neil to the ball. Short kick out to half forward. Griffin bending down below his knees, trying to control the footy. Runs out of room. Boundary throw in. Almost right on the 50-metre arc. Half forward for Freo. Vince along with Garlett and Cross, the 3 men that have played in victories here at Subiaco Oval. Of course, Melbourne haven't won here since 2004, losing their past 15 games. And about to be 16 as Garlett sockers the ball along the boundary line to Gawn. Hand pass inside, missed Neil Bullen. The big fend off. Then the hand pass away to Viney. Back to Gawn. Back to Vince. Melbourne still with it. Retreats with the kick to Cross, who marks at half back.
Cross. Bright orange boots on today. And just send it back, and that kick's not enough to be a mark, so Dunn has to play on. Wasn't under immediate pressure. Sends the ball to the outer side. Oscar McDonald for the Demons. Almost turns it over. Up was Main. Couldn't mark. Came down towards Salem. Now to Grimes, the sub who's on. Poor hand pass. Watts couldn't pick it up off the deck. Sutcliffe could for the Dockers. Gave it to Ibbotson. Long inside attacking 50. One-on-one Pavlich versus Cross. Cross is more interested in Pavlich than the football. Umpires let it play. Pavlich dives on the footy. Tried to work it out. Cross got in the way to intercept. Ball stolen away by De Boer. Gave it back towards Griffin. The big fellow off a step. Tries to snap around the body. Rushed over the behind line by Gawn. Minus score. Freo's lead out to 49 points.
Standing start. Dunn brings the footy back into play to Vince. Had a little bit more of it lately since his goal. Kicks into the middle of the ground looking for Spencer. At full stretch, had hands on it. Lanston Newton did well, just skipped over one, and then a hand pass out wide to Howe. Kicks down to half forward. Hogan flies. Dawson spoils. The ball's still inside the field of play, close to the line. Dawson's happy to see it out in front of Hogan and a boundary throw in. Deep in Melbourne's forward 50. Fremantle kicked the first 10 of the game. Melbourne have kicked 3 of the next 4. Pavlich has 3 and 2 for Daniel Pearce. And Nathan Jones subbed out of the game in his 200th with an injury to what looks to be a left ankle or lower part of his left leg. We'll give you more of an update when we have one from the boundary throw-in. Fremantle and get the clearance out of the defensive 50. Mzungu, a long kick out to half-back.
To the outer side, backing back. Salem takes a courageous mark. He would have felt the contact as he grabbed the footy. He's all right. He'll go up and be forced to go and gather his own football. No one else wanted to go anywhere near it. Got a couple of players behind him. So he's between centre wing and right half forward for the Demons. Sends it back into the middle of the ground. Poor kick, but Dunn had time to pick it up, and he will thump it long. 70-metre kick into a packet, full forward. No mark taken, big pack up. Sheridan underneath it, got tackled. Newton tries to emerge with it. Hand pass was taken again by McFarlane. Watts working hard in there. Newton tries to steal it away. Couldn't take the football. Still hits the deck again, and umpire says, no, enough of that. We'll be balling it up. Only about 20 metres out from Melbourne's attacking goal. There's a Demon down off the ball. We'll tell you more about that in just a moment. It's Spencer as it's throwing aloft. Mundy, third man up, one it down. Garlett tries to gather. Neal stole it away. Gave it to Barlow. Now to Mundy. Dockers through Spur. To Fremantle's last line of defence. Johnson got run down and tackled. Garlett, great pressure. And at left full forward, Garlett can go back and have a shot on goal. Johnson just didn't seem to be aware of Garlett being there. He got under his guard, wrapped him up, and Johnson couldn't get the ball away legally.
Their forward line pressure this quarter, judging for Melbourne, has been a lot better.
Yeah.
This should be their second goal that they've
going to create from turnovers.
Garlett will look to steer it around the body off a step. He snaps and he kicks the goal. He's got his second. Melbourne have got their fourth. But another one of their key players makes his way towards the interchange gate. Spencer under his own steam, but looks a little bit worse for wear. Fremantle's lead cut to 43 points as we approach the 29-minute mark of the second term. The Dockers are 11-3-69. Melbourne 4-2-26. Ahead of our experts, Clint Thomas is downstairs.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Clint, Jake Spencer's just off the ground. Looked a bit sort of groggy as he walked off. Not sure what happened, but he did cop a little knock behind play, I think.
Being spoken to downstairs.
Garvin actually kicked 3 against the Dockers the last time they met from 6 kicks. Back in round 5, he's got 2 before half-time, and Melbourne have kicked 4 of the last 5 in the game. After conceding the first 10, in the middle, Viney spins out of traffic. Hand pass away to Gawn, throws it on the boot. Powerful kick inside the forward 50. McFarlane waiting underneath it. Just grasp it to his chest, takes a great mark in the defensive 50. Out towards the back pocket to Spur. Heads out a defensive 50 to Clancy Pearce. A short kick, Barlow leading up the ground. You can probably hear in our effects mic. Well, goes back to Spur, who lost his footing, top of the defensive goal square, enough time to recover. Kicks to the opposite pocket, Mzungu. And Fremantle have still kicked 6-2 for the quarter, doing all the damage in the first part of this term. They kicked 5 goals in 12 minutes. It's actually their highest scoring second quarter of the season. For Fremantle, here's Mundy, and plays on by hand. To Langdon, who's had a bit of it on debut. The brother of Collingwood's Tom. Hand pass to Neal. Dishes it off to Daniel Pearce. Kicks beyond the wing. Falls down to Hill. Works out okay. Hand pass off to Ibbotson. 80 out at half forward. Sends it deep inside 50. Sandilands goes up as a hand on the footy. Keeps it inside the field of play. Does brilliantly, the big man. Hand pass off to the ball. They run out of time. And that is half time. And Fremantle, after leading by 30 points at quarter time, they lead by 43 at the half. 11-3-69 to 4-2-26. A quarter that certainly wasn't without incident, Clint. And has seen the end of Nathan Jones in his 200th game. He'll play no further part. He's been subbed out with an injury with what looks like his left ankle or the lower part of his left leg.
The goal kickers, Matthew Pavlich has 3, Daniel Pearce with 2, Barlow, Neal, Mzungu, Ibbotson, Sandilands and Main, all with 1 each for the Dockers, while for the Melbourne Footy Club, 2 to Garlett and then singles to Vince and to Watts. A 43-point lead to Fremantle, 11-3-69 to the Demons, 4-2-26. 26 minutes gone in the final term at the Docklands. The Swans there by 96, so a healthy percentage boost for Sydney. 20-14-134 to 4-14-38. We'll have full time for you in that game very shortly. But here, it's been all the Dockers, despite a little fight back from the Demons in that quarter. They stretched their quarter-time lead of 30 points out to 43 at the main break. Let's get the thoughts of our experts, Ken Judge and Andrew Embley on Grandstand AFL.
Well, thank goodness that Melbourne did find the scoreboard a bit there in that quarter, particularly late, just to put a little bit of respectability in it, because it was looking pretty ordinary at 10 goals to none at one stage. So they kicked the first 5 goals that quarter, Fremantle, and really opened up, split Melbourne wide open. But as I said, Melbourne, at least they kept having a go, and we're able to put some score on the board. So Fremantle continue to dominate in general play. I reckon they've been far and away the better side. And again, if you look at the possessions, you'll realise how much Fremantle are dominating. 248 disposals to 162, so they're clearly dominating in that area. And contested possessions again, Embers, as we discussed at quarter time, 74 to 46. So they're really smashing him in those important areas. 1 in winning the ball, but 2 in winning it in contested situations. So I mean, that's a fantastic advantage to Fremantle, and consequently that's why they're 7 goals in front at half time. But look, let's just hope that Melbourne can offer up something in this second half. They did a little bit towards the end of that quarter. They actually, as I said, managed to kick 4 goals for the quarter, and they came in a bit of a flurry, got a couple in a row there. They put some good pressure on Fremantle's defence, which enabled them to get those goals. So they're a lot to do, Fremantle, but Melbourne, and let's just hope that they can offer up something in this second half to at least make a bit of a game of this.
They got those goals because their clearance work actually became a lot better late in that quarter. Started to win a bit of football in the midfield, and therefore they could move the ball inside their forward 50. And when they weren't marking the ball, their forward line pressure was a lot better. They got a couple of goals from turnovers through that pressure from Jack Watson, Jeff Garlett. But overall, as we said, it's been a training drill really for the Fremantle Dockers. They've just been able to dominate clearances all day, finding way too much football, uncontested football. They link up, they move the ball quickly, and Melbourne players just drifting back, which has allowed Fremantle to go inside their forward 50 under no pressure. And when you can do that, there's targets everywhere, and Matthew Pavlich has looked really good today. He's kicked the 3 goals. Iverson has looked good. May and the Sandlands have presented as well. So really looking for Melbourne to come out in this second half and really show something. But for mine, it's been a quarter absolutely dominated by the Fremantle Dockers.
Has just gone full-time at the Docklands. The Swans by 97 points over the Saints. 20 goals, 15, 135 to St Kilda, 4-14-38. Big win to the Swans there. We'll tell you what that means in terms of the ladder and positions in just a few moments. Because right now, with a score at half-time, Fremantle leading Melbourne by 43 points. Let's take the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News, I'm Meredith Griffiths. The federal opposition is demanding a full explanation from the Immigration Minister about a bungled operation in Melbourne involving Border Force officers. Operation Fortitude was called off just hours after Border Force issued a statement suggesting its officers would be stopping people at random in the CBD and checking their visa details. The Minister, Peter Dutton, says his office received an advanced copy of that statement, but it was neither reviewed nor cleared because the planned operation was routine. The opposition's Richard Marles says that explanation is not good enough.
This is an astounding admission which betrays an incompetent minister. And now that we know that this matter did go through the minister's office, it only heightens the need for the minister to come out of hiding and face the Australian people.
The Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, has suggested there is still room for changes to be made to the free trade deal with China. Labor is pushing to strengthen protections for workers and Australian jobs in the agreement. Ms Bishop has told Channel 10 a parliamentary committee investigating the deal could recommend changes to the relevant legislation in Australia.
There is a process whereby the free trade agreement will go to a joint standing committee on treaties, and that committee can hold public hearings, can take evidence, can receive submissions and then make recommendations to the government. But I do not believe that there is any threat to Australian jobs.
The Federal Health Minister, Susan Lee, has welcomed a last-minute agreement between Medibank Private and Calvary Hospitals. An agreement between the two parties was due to expire tomorrow, meaning Medibank Private customers may have been charged additional fees for using Calvary Hospitals. Calvary had disputed a Medibank policy that insisted the hospitals pay for a number of complications and errors in hospital treatment. Ms Lee says she hopes the signing of a new 3-year agreement will mean it's business as usual on Monday for everyone involved. Peter Grester is calling on his sentence and that of his Al Jazeera colleagues to be overturned. The journalist says international pressure on the Egyptian government should be maintained. He and his colleagues, Mohammed Fahmy and Bayer Mohammed, were found guilty of broadcasting false news and not having the correct permits and sentenced to 3 years in jail. Peter Grester says the ruling has wider implications for Egyptian society.
This isn't just about the injustice against myself and my 2 colleagues. This is about what this means for due process in Egypt. It's about what it means for the rule of law in Egypt. It is also about what it means for freedom of the press and democracy in Egypt.
European countries have agreed to measures to enhance safety on their railways after last week's foiled gun attack on an Amsterdam to Paris train. They include upgrading identity and baggage checks at railway stations, reinforcing firearms legislation and improving intelligence coordination. But Germany's Interior Minister, Thomas de Maizière, says some of the changes might not be feasible.
I must say it is impossible to have a complete check of persons and luggage of millions of people who travel day per day in Germany and in Europe.
The Prime Minister of the Caribbean island of Dominica says he expects the number of deaths caused by Tropical Storm Erica to rise in the coming days. At least 20 people are known to have died in the flooding and mudslides caused by the storm. Roosevelt Skerritt says the situation is grave.
Several communities are still cut off from the city. We have had over 200 major landslides. Several of our bridges have been washed away by the heavy flooding. Hundreds of families have been dislocated, homes destroyed, and several hundred more homes are unsafe for occupation.
3 people have died in a car crash west of Sydney. Police say 2 vehicles collided on the Bells Line of Road at Kermond just after 3:30 this afternoon. 3 people died at the scene and paramedics are treating a number of other people who've been injured. Taking a look at sport, and in the AFL, Adelaide has shown its finals credentials with an impressive win over West Coast. The Crows kicked 8 unanswered goals in the opening term, winning 19-12-126 to 10-9-69. Josh Jenkins kicked a career-best 6 goals. Taking a look at the weather now around the country, in Brisbane a short while ago, it was mostly sunny and 21. In Sydney, partly cloudy and 15. In Canberra, partly cloudy, 11. Melbourne, partly cloudy, 11. In Hobart a short while ago, showers increasing and the top of 17 degrees. In Adelaide a short while ago, clear and 15. Perth, a possible shower, 17 degrees. Darwin, clear and 30 degrees. ABC News.
Father's Day is almost here. It's time to treat your dad with Daddy Pig gifts only available at ABC Shops and Centres.
Ooh, what's this?
He'll be warm and cosy in a wonderful new set of Daddy Pig PJs. Then get up and face the day with his Daddy Pig T-shirt.
Good idea.
And his clothes will stay clean and his drinks cold with the Daddy Pig apron and cooler.
Fantastic!
Father's Day gift ideas for the difference at ABC Shops, Centres and ABC Shop Online.
Grandstand AFL.
De Boer goes for the centering kick towards the top of the goal square. Griffin flies, falls front and centre. Pearce turns back onto his left, kicks on the outside of the boot. Dobbs his second. Neil's not going to take the kick. He just sits it up towards the top of the goal square. Big Aaron flies and takes the mark. Plays on and goals. If you don't mind, from the big 7-footer, a 9th for Fremantle. Mitchie kicks inside 50. They're queuing up. Garlett takes the mark on his chest. Looking to pop through Melbourne's first. In his first year at Melbourne, Jeff Garlett. He slots it. And Melbourne have got their first.
Dangerous hand pass. Hogan picks it up. Now to Watts. He'll snap around the body from right full forward. What a terrific goal. Pearce gathered, got tackled and lost it. Main affects the tackle as well. He's wrapped up a demon. He's been surrounded by players holding the ball.
Holding the ball, yep.
Chris Main, he kicks on goal and he punches the air with the right fist. The moment it leaves his boot, it never deviated. Fremantle's last line of defence. Johnson got run down and tackled. Garlett, great pressure. Garlett will look to steer it around the body off a step. He snaps and he kicks the goal. He's got his second.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Clint Wilden with you at Subiaco, where Fremantle lead by 43 points, 11-3-69 to Melbourne 4-2-26. The other games, and Sydney have just defeated St Kilda, 20 goals, 15, 135 to the Saints, 14-38, a 97-point win to Sydney. For the Swans, Heaney kicked 4, Tippett and Goods kicked 3 apiece. For St Kilda, Adam Schneider kicked 2 goals against his old side, their only multiple goal kicker. Of course, Snyder retiring as well at the end of this season. In terms of disposals, Hanbury had 39 touches, Mitchell 34, Kennedy 33. For the Saints, Jack Stephen with 32, Armitage and Robertson 25 touches apiece. Earlier today, Adelaide beat West Coast by 57. The Crows 19-12-126. The West Coast 10-9-69. And Adelaide led by 50 points at quarter time. For the Crows, Josh Jenkins kicked 6, Taylor Walker 3, Betts, Lynch and Cameron each had 2. Jamie Cripps and Mark Lacroix were the only multiple goal kickers for the Eagles, both kicking 2. In terms of disposal, Scott Thompson and Brodie Smith had 29 for Adelaide, Patrick Dangerfield with 28. For West Coast, Dom Sheed had 27, Luke Shuey 25, Andrew Gaff 23. Concerns again for the Eagles. Jeremy McGovern subbed out late in the game with a shoulder issue. After the contest, for the Eagles, Mark Hutchings spoke with James Coventry.
Mark, it's always going to be tough when you have an 8-goal
opening term against you. What went wrong in that opening term? It just seemed like you just couldn't stop the Crows' momentum at all.
Yeah, they just brought the heat around the contest, and they were able to win the clearances. They were good around the stoppages, so just gave their forwards a good look, and they were able to capitalise on that.
What was the message from Adam Simpson at quarter time? Because you did seem like you were turned around briefly in that second term when you had that 5 unanswered goals.
Yeah, we just need to be better at the contest and win those, get the ball forward, give our forwards a chance. And we sort of did that in the second quarter. We were able to kick a few goals. Just shows when you win those clearances, when you bring that head around the contest, just gives your forwards a chance. And that's what we did in our second quarter, and we just probably couldn't sustain it for the third and fourth quarters.
I guess it's one of your biggest losses for this season. How deflating is that, so close to the finals?
Yeah, I mean, you never want to lose any game of football. But we're looking at the positive side of things. We've got to move on. We can't dwell on it. Win next week, get top 2. So it's not all bad, but definitely learn some lessons, recover well. Be positive throughout this week because we're not going to let one game derail us. We'll be all right as long as we bring energy and next week and get a win for that top 2 spot.
I mean, you could have locked up that top 2 spot today, but I guess it's all to play for next week now against St Kilda.
Oh, absolutely. So we won't be going easy or anything like that. We'll be going out really hard in front of our home fans, home crowd, and taking it up to them. And we believe if we play our best footy, and we believe it stands up. It's just that we need to bring it every game for 4 quarters. So.
And there's obviously been a lot of talk about your injury list. McGovern today seemed to have done something to his shoulder. Is there any update on him?
Yeah, I don't know. He seemed to hurt his shoulder, had to get it strapped throughout the game. I think he might have got subbed off, but, I mean, he's one type of player that can play with little niggling injuries. And he's really important for us. So I wouldn't expect he'd be out for any length of time, but I guess we'll find out Monday or Tuesday during the week, but I think we're hopeful.
Okay, bad luck today. Thanks for joining ABC Grandstand.
Thanks, mate.
Mark Hutchings there speaking with James Coventry, and the ladder at the moment, the top 8 looks like this, with of course this game to still be played. Fremantle can win the minor premiership, victorious this afternoon. West Coast sitting second on 62 points, Hawthorn third on 60 points, Sydney fourth with 60 points. The Hawks have a percentage of 156.8, Sydney 124.10. Richmond with 56 points, 121.40. The Tigers are just ahead of the Bulldogs in 6th spot. They have 56 points, 116.8. The Crows are in 7th, 54 points, 119.10. And North in 8th with 52 points, 109.10. We'll update you on that at the end of this contest, of course, just in terms of whether Fremantle have been able to pick up the minor premiership. They're on their way at the moment, a 43-point lead here at half-time. In the National Rugby League, 79 minutes gone up at the Gold Coast, and the Titans lead St George Illawarra 28 points to 26 after the Dragons have led for most of the game. Full-time in the earlier match, the Tigers 50 beat the Warriors 16 down at Campbelltown. In golf, Australia's Jason Day has a share of the lead going into the final round of the opening PGA Tour playoff event. He and his playing partner Bae Sang Moon are both 11 under par for the tournament, one shot clear of 2-time Masters champion Bubba Watson. Of course, for more information across a wide variety of sport, head to abc.net.au/grandstand. Corbin Middlemass back with you after this.
This AFL final series, there's only one team that captures the essence of the game.
Grandstand AFL.
The insights.
We're going to follow the players up the race here as they head out for this initial warm-up.
The emotion.
It's happening every week at the moment, and to be honest, it's frustrating.
The experts.
Do I think it's going to happen? I'm not certain we've got the guts to do it.
And the call.
Right foot drop punt.
Oh, yeah.
Superb.
Grandstand AFL Finals Footy.
Switch on
ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Grandstand AFL.
You're with Grandstand. On ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Thanks to Clint Wilden, Corbin Middlemass alongside Ken Judge and Andrew Embley at Subiaco Oval. The Demons are back out onto the playing arena. They trail by 43 points at the half. The Dockers kicked the first 10 goals of the game. Melbourne have since kicked 4 of the last 5. It's 11-3, Fremantle 69. They lead Melbourne 4-2-26. Two things to come out of that first half, Judgy and Embers. Firstly, Nathan Jones involved in both incidents, but Zach Dawson started that second quarter He came through looking to lay a hip and shoulder. Fortunately, Jones actually fell. Otherwise, he would have absolutely collected him straight up and down the middle. And probably high, given the angle that he was on. As it was, his leg caught the back of Jones's neck. Will he have any problems with the match review panel looking to try and pick off a player in such fashion?
Well, I think they'll look at it for sure. And I'm not sure to what extent the contact was in the end. It looked reasonably severe enough for me. So he could be in a bit of trouble again.
Deserved a free kick at least.
Instead, I think Jones went to ground, obviously holding his neck, and then was penalised for holding the ball. His day didn't get any better thereafter, Embers. He's now out of his milestone match, his 200th game, with what looked to be a pretty serious leg injury when he came off. They did take him down the race, waited a little while as to whether to sub Grimes in or not, and yet the decision was made 5 minutes later that Jones's day was done.
At least he could put some weight on. I did see him running up and down the boundary line, so obviously it wasn't good enough for him to come back on, but hopefully there's no break in there. Really important that Melbourne come out in this second half, Judge, and really show something.
Yeah, they need to, Embers, because what we saw in the first half, with the exception of that little flurry of a few goals there late in that quarter, was pretty ordinary.
Hogan, only 2 possessions for him. Just been watching his body language a bit.
Hasn't been good, has it? He hasn't really presented himself. He hasn't looked urgent enough for me. Sometimes I get a bit overawed. You come back here, you're playing in front of family and friends and all that sort of stuff. You might actually play your game before you get out there. You're so desperate to want to play well in front of the home crowd.
He was goalless last week, Jesse Hogan, for the first time in his career, which he's had an incredible season. This is his 19th game. He kicked 39 goals in the first 17. Tight huddle for the Demons just on the logo, and the Dockers in your more conventional circle at the Austin Robertson end of the ground, in which they'll be defending in this third quarter.
And he's probably struggled purely because the midfield from Melbourne over the last few weeks have really struggled to find the football and get the ball going inside their forward 50. That's what happens when you're losing games of football. Your mids aren't in control, and therefore the supply for Hogan, Garlett hasn't been great. So, again, if Melbourne can win some football through the midfield like they did in the second part of that second quarter, win some of the clearances, move the ball quickly inside your forward line, then might just give guys like Hogan a chance to kick a couple of goals.
Let's just reset downstairs. Fremantle by 43 points. Clint Thomas is on the boundary.
Yeah, just a quick one, Jez. It doesn't look like Jake Spencer has come out from the rooms at half-time. So the Demons, with Nathan Jones having been subbed out in the second quarter, looks like they're down to 2 on the bench at the moment.
There's a significant blow for Melbourne, and they're 43 down on the scoreboard. The second half underway. Here's Clint Wilden on Grandstand AFL.
As if the Demons didn't have enough to worry about. Sandilands won the tap. Barlow gathered it, got tackled by Vince. Hill tries to soccer it off the ground. It ricochets away off legs. Out after it on the wing. Main sees Subin inside. Hand passes that way. Subin will kick into the right forward pocket. Ball will bounce and then tap over the boundary line by Garland defensively for Melbourne. Pavlich with 3 goals, leading the way for the Dockers. Garlett, the only multiple goal kicker for the Demons. He's got 2. Ball spun back into play, about 50 out from Melbourne's goal. Up with Sandlands. Gawn probably had the better tap. Down to Mitchie, lost it. Trying to get it out was Clancy Pearce. Comes down again towards Barlow, who'll thump it into the right forward pocket again. Punched away by a cross into the hot spot though. Oh, Daniel Pearce read it beautifully. Snaps around the body with the left. Terrific goal. He's got 3. It's a dangerous play from Melbourne. Again, seeing the ball punch back into the corridor, and Daniel Pearce just hit it at pace. Snapped the goal to give Freo a 49-point lead in the opening minute of the third term.
Yeah, it was Daniel Cross coming back with a fly to the football. Showed good courage, Clint, but as you mentioned, you want to come back, you make sure you get that ball over the line, and in the end, the ball was punched to a really dangerous position on the ground, and Daniel Pearce was clever enough to get himself in the right spot, kick a good goal over his right shoulder.
85th consecutive game today for the 2008 Rising Star with Port Adelaide.
So 14th for the season now for Daniel Pearce. And Fremantle out to a 49-point buffer again. Sandilands wins the tap. Viney runs back into De Boer. De Boer wins the footy off his knees. Hand pass forward. Vince's kick ricochets to Mitchie. Cross has a go. Gets the hand pass from Mitchie. Quick kick forward. Stretch. Trying to break the Mzungu tackle. Lost it. Jetta wrapped up by Barlow. Loose ball spills out to Clancy Pearce. Hand pass to McFarlane at halfback. Kicks down the outer wing. Main the target. 2-on-1. Footy comes to ground front and centre. Stretch out after it. Subin wraps him up. The ball spills to Garland. Hand pass away to Cross on the logo. Gives it off to Jones, to Dunn. They loop hand passes across the defensive edge of the centre square. Gawn goes back to Oscar McDonald, to Jones again. Now a chance for Dunn. Hooks the kick across his body down the wing. Garland one-on-one with Main. No whistle on the play. The ball falls on the bottom of the pack and the umpire will call for it. The ball up on the southern wing. Freo by 49.
Ball put aloft. Both rucks had a go at it. They sit back towards the boundary line. Vince in hot pursuit. Can't keep it in. So Barlow has 20 disposals. Neil with 19. Cross 18 so far. Total disposals of the Dockers 255 to Melbourne 173. Ball back into play. Sandlands palmed it behind himself. Now there's a free kick going the way of Melbourne. It's for a push out. It'll be Jeremy Howe that gets the free kick just forward of centre wing. Free kick's in favour of Fremantle at the moment. 13-11. He goes short Howe. Just to find a teammate in Mitchie. Mitchie moves it on towards Grimes, the sub who's on because of the left leg injury to Nathan Jones. And Grimes from left half forward puts it deep into the left forward pocket. Sandilands read it well, the big fella. Actually got off the ground and takes a good defensive mark. Goes to Sheridan. He'll switch play back to Spur. Deep in the left back pocket. His boots on the boundary line. He looks to go back defensively and will do so. Not a great kick. Sheridan then forced to rush it through for a minor score with Hogan right with him. Fremantle's lead cut to 48 points. 4 gone third term.
Sheridan kicks
poor kick that.
Sheridan to himself and then heads out towards halfback on the southern boundary line looking for Sandilands. Nudged off it. Viney, look away, hand pass, a fumble from Garland. Made it tough for himself. Hand pass to Grimes, to Gawn. Back to Viney, still at half forward. They're retreating though, Melbourne. Cross goes all the way back to Matt Jones on the outer wing. Oh, ugly kick. Out of bounds on the fall off his left boot. And Freo will win it back.
That was just terrible by Melbourne, wasn't it? Just chipping the ball around, going backwards 30 metres in the end, and they kick the ball out of bounds on the fall.
Subin back to Johnson. Johnson works it further afield to Mundy, lays it off to Subin. Back edge of the centre square, kicks down to half forward. Oscar McDonald in front, wins it. Hand pass to Vince. Away to Salem, off half-back, runs to the middle of Subiaco Oval, 2 bounces on his left-hand side, dishes off the hand pass to Grimes, further forward to Hogan at centre half forward, kicks off a stab, Hogan hooking around right to the goal line, he's put it through. Just 2 touches in the first half. Jesse Hogan on his return home gets a goal in the West. 12-3-75, Melbourne moves to 5-3-33. 42 points, the Dockers lead 5 minutes into the third. Clint Thomas is on the boundary.
Yeah, Corb, Nathan Jones has just emerged from the Demons rooms on crutches and with a moon boot on his left leg.
It's no good, is it? I think that's probably season ending. Not a good way to remember your 200th game, is it?
No.
He gets a warm round of applause too from the Dockers supporters.
Oh, I think he's one of those blokes that people admire, you know, from all clubs.
You know what?
Such a great competitor.
You know what he does have on though, Judgy?
What, mate?
He's got the red vest on over the top.
So mate, you've got to have that on.
He's on crutches,
he's got to wear it back to the plane.
But he's got the red vest on as well.
Just in case you weren't sure he'd been subbed out, Gawn wins it down. Viney.
Nice matching little number with his top too, I reckon.
Exactly. Hand pass into traffic from Viney. Grimes couldn't pick it up. Hill goes in. He couldn't gather either. Cross is taken high. It's against Langdon. You can hear the applause, which does show the respect that Nathan Jones has held in. It's a tough milestone match when you get subbed out through injury. He's 200th today, just the 25th demon to reach that mark. As Melbourne go down the outer side. This is Grimes, got it originally from Salem, and Grimes in a bit of trouble and got away just from the diving attempted tackle of Sutcliffe to Cross. Gets a kick towards left half forward. Watts couldn't take it cleanly, was able to knock it into the path of Matt Jones, sends it inside attacking 50, no mark taken. Hogan will pick it up at the back, left full forward, goes back by hand to Gardos. Sold a great dummy to get it away from Spur, but then was smothered. He's kicked by Johnson. It hits the deck. Umpire will ball it up.
I reckon Sutcliffe hurt his shoulder in that thing. He laid on the ground for a bit. I couldn't work out why he was laying on the ground, but he's just running back now with a trainer or a physio or something. He's not moving his right wing too well.
Tom McDonald won it down. There's a docker underneath 3 Melbourne players. Grimes one of the tackles, Hogan the other. Big bodies, which would explain why he didn't immediately see Spur beneath all of that. Throwing aloft again. Grimes palmed it over his head back towards the boundary line. Hogan can't keep it in. It's over the left forward pocket for the Demons. Fremantle lead by 42 points here. 7 minutes gone. Third term. They're 12-3 Freo. Melbourne 5-3.
Sutcliffe still just doing the shoulder warm-ups. Judgy almost like he's trying to indicate to the skipper that he's ready for a bowl.
Yeah.
The boundary throw-in. He's gone in front, palms it down towards Vince, hooks the kick towards the hot spot. McDonald down there, McFarlane backing back, courageously takes the mark. Gets it off quickly to Johnson. Well, Johnson, a wide kick, sprawling effort from Everton, spills it. Boundary throw-in. Tough kick to try and reel in. Games today, Adelaide by 57 over West Coast and Sydney by 97 over St Kilda. It's been a wide round of footy. The closest game, 23 points. Western Bulldogs over North yesterday. From the throw-in, Sandilands gets it down to Neil. Hand pass to Barlow, and his hand pass too wide, looking for Mundy. It's out of play. Boundary throw-in. Still at half forward for the D's. They trail by 7 goals, 8.5 played in the third.
It's catching some of these disposals from Melbourne. Dockers might have caught it. The infliction. Let's see how they get it as Barlow gets a hand pass away towards half forward, and that wasn't great either to the bootstraps of Ball. They'll end up with it again through traffic, the Dockers. Ibbotson kicks to the outer side, trying to stretch together was the captain in Pavlich and couldn't do so. Melbourne end up with it through Dunn. Sends it towards left half forward. He wanted to try and find Neil Bullen, and he couldn't. It's over the boundary line for a throw-in.
They've got a bit sloppy themselves now, Fremantle, haven't they? Their ball use and options haven't been particularly good.
Since midway in the second quarter, it's 5-2 on the scoreboard as well.
Ball spun back into play. Gawn won it down straight to Grimes off a step. Kicks into the left forward pocket for the Demons. Neil Bullen is there, tries to gather. Watts got to it first under pressure from Dawson, who sees him and the ball over the boundary line for a throw-in. Still deep in the left forward pocket for the Demons. So 42-point advantage to Freo. 9.5 gone third term. Grandstand AFL from Subiaco, Clint Wilden, Corbin Middlemass. Now experts Ken Judge and Andrew Embley.
Still inside Melbourne's forward 50 from the throw-in. Gawn goes the punch and then swats it back inboard. Falls down to Hogan. Hand pass to Neil Bullen. Quick kick to the top of the goal square. McDonald out to meet. It's clean bowled. Everyone, that's a goal. That's bounced through. It's beaten about 4 sets of hands on the way through. And somehow the Demons have been able to come up with their 6th goal. Jack Grimes, the goal kicker. 6-3-39. Fremantle 12-3-75. 10 minutes into the third.
Well, it just luck's a fortune, isn't it? Quick snap, and it's just got past a number of players and stayed on the straight line to goal.
Had some good clearances in this quarter, Melbourne. Boundary throw-ins, just palming the ball down, getting numbers around the stoppage, just trying to move the ball quickly. In that particular time, Grimes just threw the ball on the boot from outside 50. More of a clearance kick, and it went through everyone for a goal.
The bounce, Gawn went straight into his opponent, but it's going to be a free kick the way of the Demons, which is interesting. So it's gone against Griffin, and Gawn has it. Works it towards Salem, runs to the logo out of side, stops, props, and then gets around Barlow. Salem towards left half forward, taken there by Jetta. He's in the shadows of the outer side grandstand. Jetta pauses and then pops it into the left forward pocket, and all on his own, Grimes takes an uncontested mark about 30 out from goal.
Well, they've been better in this quarter, there's no doubt about that, Melbourne, but gee, Fremantle haven't come out to play, have they? They're just going through the motions in mine. And they did this last week after a really poor start against Carlton. They actually came back, got themselves back into some respectability. Didn't win the game in the end, but they put some respectability back in their score.
Deep in the left forward pocket, that's a poor kick from Grimes. It's across the face and out of bounds on the full. The Dockers will have it at left full back. Fremantle's lead remains 36 points, 12 gone in this third term. Earlier today, wins to Adelaide over West Coast and the Swans over St Kilda.
McFarlane, long kick to a contest. The 2 rucks are there. Garland over the top with a big spoil. Gawn just knocks it on. Down to Mitchie. Quick kick right to the goal line. Bouncing footy. It's through for a behind. So Viv Mitchie edging closer, Melbourne. And they've kicked 6 of the last 8 in the game.
Actually, Fremantle quite liked Mitchie as a player. He just had a lot of injury problems here, so he's finally getting a bit of a run at it with Melbourne since he's gone back to Melbourne.
Freo by 35, 13 played in the third.
Played one game with the Dockers, former Fitzroy Jr.
Couldn't get fit. Just couldn't, always injured.
Bombing it long beyond defensive 50, Johnson, big pack at left half back. Hand passing around, Pearce, Barlow, now to Subin, quick hands again to Mundy. Hand passes off towards Sutcliffe, just grubbers it along the ground, set up for Clancy Pearce, who was tackled the moment he gathered the football. No prior there. And they'll be balling it up between left half back and centre wing, commentary side.
He was a high draft pick, wasn't he? Reasonably high.
Won a B&F with Peel Thunder.
Sorry?
He won a best and fairest.
Yeah, but he was a high draft pick, wasn't he? I think, or, you know.
Ball into the middle of the ground. With it as cross. Hand passes backwards. All waiting for it was Vince. Subin didn't try to soccer it forward. The Dockers got themselves in a tangle as they tried to hand pass their way into attack. Main now with it. Cross centre half forward. Missing hand passes everywhere. Clancy Pearce and then Sheridan turns it over. Jetta had it too. Main was a culprit as well in amongst all of that. Now it's Tom McDonald towards centre wing. Outer side of the ground. Kicks long and Dawson will see it in front of Gawn and over the boundary line for a throw-in.
Actually, no, it wasn't. He was second round draft pick number 44, not as high as I thought. I thought he was in the top 20.
You're right. When Fremantle wanted him to stay, he wanted to go home in the end, so he's from Victoria and requested a trade, and Fremantle were pretty keen to keep him at the time. The boundary throw in, Sandilands won the tap. Neil, hand pass to Clancy Pearce, kicks down the outer wing. Cross, hand pass forward to Grimes, away to Vince, pushed as he kicked. Little bump in the side, umpire calls play on. Subin to Pavlich to Mundy. Just jams it on the boot in a hurry down the outer wing. Main takes the mark for Freo. Here go the Dockers in transition. Quick kick out in front of Matt De Boer. De Boer runs onto the loose footy. No one ahead of him. Shut the gate. 2 bounces. Strolls into the open square and kicks it. De Boer adds his name to the goal kickers list. Freo have 13. They're back out to a 41-point buffer, 13-3 to 6-4.
Well, they got the space and got over the back there, De Boer. Easy goal for him in the end, but they just used it a bit better than Fremantle. A bit better than they have been using it in the first 12 or 13 minutes of this quarter.
Just a great example.
I'll tell you, he's been good at Ambers, I reckon. He's Subin for Fremantle.
He's an important player, Subin. But just forwards getting really high up the ground and Fremantle maintain possession of the football. That long kick into the space of De Boer. De Boer was onto it, just had way too much pace, ran in to kick one of the easiest of goals.
Nice way to kick your second goal of the season. Running into an open goal, couple of bounces, slotting it through. And the restart, and chance of getting a clearance out of that. Sandlands won it down, and Jones, good tackle underneath all of that was Stephen Hill. Throwing it off again. Sandlands pumps it down with the right to Mundy. Hand pass back to Hill. Now to Pearce. On to Mzungu. Kicks the Dockers to the outer side. Ibbotson running hard at full stretch. Was able to mark just in front of his knees. Did well. Stabs the pass again. This is De Boer. De Boer thought about going back towards McFarlane. He'll put it into the right forward pocket or in that direction. Is that Howe mark? Yes, it is. That's a fine grab against Pavlich. He was diving full stretch to his left and just dragged it in hard up against the boundary line, about 50 out from his defensive goal. He'll head right back to fullback. Opportunity for Viney. The mark and play on. Has to be precise. He is, but set a real task. But Newton goes back to Viney. Just got away from the Subin tackle. Hand pass again to Matt Jones. Jones beyond defensive 50 and into the first row on the outer side of the ground. Free kick to the Dockers at right half forward. Freo by 41.
So Fremantle with it, wanting to play on by hand. Ibbotson is be called to come back over the mark. And 70 out at half forward. 41 points. Ibbotson heads back. The southern wing, McFarlane. To Clancy Pearce takes the mark and the short kick, outer edge of the square, backs back onto the logo. 2 goals each for the quarter. Pearce called to go, kicks into a crowded forward 50. Big fly from Oscar McDonald, gets a hand on it, falls down to Howe. In defence, kicks out towards half-back. Ibbotson works his way to the front. Grimes spoils. Freo with Melbourne with the numbers at ground level. Viney, hand pass away to Cross. High up and under, close to the boundary. Running back with the flight. Johnson takes the mark. Johnson heads inside to Daniel Pearce. He's got 3 already. McFarlane drifting forward out on the flank. He ignores that option. Pearce just sits it up towards Pavlich, the captain. Slips through his hands. Griffin at the back grabs it. Throws it on the boot. Somehow bounces right to the goal line. Gawn comes up with it for the Demons. Looping hand pass for Oscar McDonald. Unkind bounce. Newton runs into trouble. Dumped by Mzungu. Still a chance of Melbourne. Garland weaving one way. Gets back onto his right. Clears the area.
Does well because leaping up, Tom McDonald takes the mark at right half back onto Mitchie, and then he turns it over. That was a disappointing kick. Straight down the throat of Johnson at left half back for the Dockers. Keeps the ball in the shadows by passing to Daniel Pearce just in front of the interchange gates. He gets told to play on now, Daniel Pearce, so he'll put it high and long towards left half forward. Group shielding their eyes from the sun, which makes the mark of Gawn even more impressive as he was up, dragging down the football short to Salem. Sends it back inside the defensive 50. This is Dunn towards the outer side. Stretch had to run towards it. He marks it left half back for the Demons. Goes short but inboard to Grimes. Grimes moving it on again into the middle of the ground. They'll work it around here, Melbourne. This is what we've seen before as Neil Bullen again assesses the options. We'll head downstairs to Clint Thomas in just a moment. Neil Bullen is short now. There's a runner getting in the way here. It's the Melbourne runner, so they've turned it over. That's disappointing for the Demons. Nothing going their way, really. And Sandilands has to take the free kick. He does it by hand. On in turn to Mundy. Into the right forward pocket. Main marks. And I reckon Paul Roos will have a little bit to say to the man who's wearing pink. He'd be red-faced as he makes his way off the ground, the Melbourne runner. Clint Thomas is downstairs.
Yeah, just very quickly, guys. Paul Duffield has been subbed into the game, and it's the skipper, Matthew Pavlich, who has the red vest.
Did you think he was in the way, the runner, or affecting the play in any way when the umpire called that?
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, it seemed like an odd one. You see the runners every now and then drift in and around the play, but it didn't seem to be directly sort of stopping a Fremantle player's passage.
It's going to cost Melbourne a goal.
Yeah.
So Main from the right forward pocket. It doesn't cost Melbourne a goal. Chris Main has put it across the face, missing to the left-hand side. So what's that, 42 points, the margin. Matthew Pavlich has got the red vest on and decided to keep him okay for next week, or maybe for the finals. Oh, terrible turnover.
Vince a little, just checked his kick, a little too cute. Mundy picked it off, gave it to Mzungu, back to Mundy, under the pump, loose ball inside Freo's forward 50. Chance for Neil, hand pass to Mzungu. Gawn drags him to ground. The ball's still alive. Grimes jumps in on top of it. Pack forms, umpire lets them play, comes out the back door to Hill. Hill throws it on the boot hurriedly, misses the full set. Out on the full.
Lucky to get away with that, Bernie Vince. He's had a couple of bad turnovers coming out of his defensive 50 today.
3 goals for the skipper, Matthew Pavlich. They all came before the 5-minute mark in the second term. And Judgy, probably in doubt for next week, you'd think as well.
Well, I reckon they're certainly looking at obviously taking him off today to rest him, so I'll be interested whether they play him next week or not.
Oh, Salem, not a great kick off the boot, landed in the lap of Neil. It was touched off the boot, in fact, and so then a pack forms and the ball will be tossed up at half forward.
Ball thrown aloft. Griffin up, won it down, but straight to Viney, had it knocked out of his hands. And the ball back towards the boundary line for another throw-in. We're into time on in this third term. Fremantle's lead 42 points. So Duffield is on for Matthew Pavlich. That's the sub that's been made. I tend to think we won't see him next week because it's spun back in. Griffin taps it back into the corridor, but it's only as far as Grimes for Melbourne. Now to Neil Bullen. Hand pass to Viney. Hand passes for Cross to run onto. It bounces in front of him. Has to get away from Dawson. As he gets the kick away, it'll bounce just in front of left half back for the Demons. Viney has to go again. Battling against Langdon. The debutant is locked in. Ball up. Leader in from the boundary, left half back for the Demons.
Just a handball from Viney.
Yeah.
Once you miss your target, you put your teammates under pressure. And when Melbourne looked like they were going to clear the football, suddenly Fremantle forced another stoppage.
Growing up, Gawn had the more telling tap, but it was down though to a Docker in Neil. Hand passes across half forward on Mzungu. Light on his feet, steps the opponent, kicks towards goal. It'll sit up at left full forward. Tapped by Mundy as he tried to gather over the boundary line for a throw-in. Only about 2 or 3 metres to the left of the goal. Freo's lead 42 points, 22 gone, third term Grandstand AFL from Subiaco, Clint Wilden, Corbin Middlemass, Ken Judge and Andrew Embley with you.
So from the boundary throw in, Sanderland's in front. First hands on it. Neil gets his arms free. Hand pass to Clancy Pearce to Hill. Hill gets back onto his left-hand side. Hand pass out to Daniel Pearce from 50. Kicks off a step. Drives it long. Misses. To the near side. He's got 3. An equal career best. For the third time, Daniel Pearce. 13-5 now Fremantle. 6-4 Melbourne. Freo by 43.
Salem, short. Moves it inside. This is Vince, and then they'll get it beyond defensive 50, the Demons, but turn it over. The kick from Dunn is taken by McFarlane, just forward of centre wing, into the centre square to Dawson. Dockers move it on to Ibbotson. He'll kick towards right half forward. Backing back Garland, waiting for it, unable to get there was Barlow, and then Barlow dives after the footy and sees it over the boundary line again. 50 out from Freo's attacking goal. Neil's had it 25 times, Mundy 24. Barlow, this will be, well, that was his 23rd disposal. Subin with the same amount next to him. Thrown in again. Sanderland slapped it down. Came towards the Dockers. Pearce, the Hill, missed his target. Trying to find Spur, who's met solidly in a tackle by Watts. Ball locked in. Ball up right half forward for Freo. In terms of disposals for Melbourne, Cross 27, Viney 22 as we get the official announcement of the change with Matthew Pavlich subbed out and Paul Duffield subbed on. A little bit of surprise from the locals. And Spur appears to be limping at the moment as well, just to make things more interesting for Fremantle. From the stoppage, taken away by Hill, got tackled, just got a hand pass out, stretches onto it for Melbourne, ran straight into trouble. McFarlane, the ball hits the deck, Viney out after it, dives on top of it, he has it locked in on the logo. Ball up, centre wing, outer side of the ground.
Adelaide by 57 over West Coast. And Sydney by 97 over the Saints. The 2 games earlier today. Sanderlands won the initial hit out, got it back. Dishes it off to Mzungu. Kicks down to half forward. Main takes the mark on his chest. Vacant goal square. Main's looking across the ground. Barlow led him back to the square. Main decides just to play on. He's got a runner shotgun. Hand pass away towards Hill. Kicks straight into oncoming traffic. Ricochets off Matt Jones. Hand pass away to Dunn. Melbourne win it back. Back to Jones. Not a heap up ahead. Pulls his kick looking for Gawn. McFarlane floats through, tracks the footy. Hand pass to Mzungu. Short kick out to half forward. Oh, Barlow slipped over. Salem steals it from him. Kicks to the outer wing. And this is Stretch, comes up with it for the Demons. Kicks beyond the wing to Hogan. And Jesse Hogan on the southern wing at Subi. The D's trail by 43 late in the third.
How telling was that? Had no one to kick to and had to wait for players to run ahead of him. And puts it long towards left half forward. Backing back, Clancy Pearce got in the road of Watts, but then Watts was able to gather the ball after it spilled away. He'll send it long towards goal. He misses. To the left-hand side, might have banged into the left-hand goal post. It has a minor score. Freo's lead cut to 42.
Good to see Paul Duffield back. Short kick to McFarlane. Off contract at the end of the season. Paul Duffield, 30 years of age now. There's McFarlane, a long kick out towards halfback. Everton reaching for it, takes the mark. He's had a good afternoon, kicked the first of the day, kicks down the wing, looking for Sanderlands into the sun, drops the mark. Daniel Pearce comes flying through, paddles the footy to his own advantage. Pearce gets up, kicks to centre half forward, Main takes the mark. About 55 out, kicks inside 50. De Boer running back with the flight, takes the mark. 25 out, slightly right of centre.
Great play there by the Fremantle Dockers. Daniel Pearce really getting himself involved. Just hit the contest really hard. Quick ball movement. And again, De Boer getting goal side off his opponent. He's working really hard playing as a defensive half forward today. And he should get reward for that hard work.
It's 42 points at the moment. And Matt De Boer, to kick back-to-back goals, 11 minutes apart. He does just that. Freo have their 14th. And it's out to an 8-goal margin on the stroke of three-quarter time. 14-5 to 6-5. Final game in round 22. Andrew Embley.
I like Matty De Boer in the Fremantle side. Just his defensive pressure. His ability to be able to just chase and tackle and lock that ball inside your forward 50. Creates opportunities not just for himself but for his teammates. And today his hard running he's been able to get on the end of a couple of goals as well. So Fremantle in this quarter early on, just a little bit fumbly, a little bit sloppy, but certainly their hard run and just dominating possession at the moment, dominating clearances, and this is the reason why they're able to go inside forward 50 as much as they have.
Fourth time he's kicked 2 goals in a game. Matt De Boer as Fremantle win the clearance again. Hill towards left half forward, long and high, but a fine mark staring into the sun to Garland of Melbourne. Steps inside, thinks the better of it, and then sends the ball to Cross by foot, who marks. Still beyond his defensive 50, walking back in a straight line along the shadow of the light tower. Looks like he's trying to stay in the shadows as Cross looks to find Viney. Fine spoil came from Hill. It spilled down to a fellow Docker in Pearce. Daniel Pearce inside the forward 50. Grimes outmarks his opponent. And again, not sure where to go. He'll head back to Watts. Just beyond his defensive 50 and short again towards Cross. Still in the right back pocket. Trotting back. He'll look for Dunn. Just had a step or two away from Ibbotson, and Dunn's still able to mark. Dunn. Kick was precise. Having to stretch for it was Neil Bullen. If he missed it, he was in real trouble. Barlow was waiting for it right behind him. So too De Boer. Melbourne again go backwards. No real thrust forward at all as it comes through Dunn. He'll switch play towards the outer side. Watts. Now they can work it forward to Salem, who marks hard up against the boundary at left half back. But a lot of work went into not a lot of field position there from Melbourne. And they pause again. Salem inboard, stabbing the pass low, stretch marks. He'll wheel around and put it forward quickly to left half forward. The spoil came from Dawson, been able to gather it again and then get pinged for a free kick. That's Jeddah. He picked it up, got wrapped up though by Pearce, and Clancy Pearce it is for the Dockers, who wins the free kick at right half back. Freo's lead 48 points, 29 gone third term.
Lays it off to Duffield by hand. Duffield kicks down the outer wing. Johnson, who's playing up front, flies for the footy, knocked away from him. Viney. Hand pass out to Stretch, swings a hand pass inside for Melbourne. Dunn on the end of it, gives it to Tom McDonald, attacking edge of the centre square, kicks to centre half forward. Newton does well, tracks the footy, just got boot to ball as Daniel Pearce tackles him, runs away to Sutcliffe. Sutcliffe bangs it out of the defensive 50. Here's Mzungu, loose hand pass off his non-preferred side, made it tough for Griffin. Matt Jones wrapped up by Mzungu, taken to ground, and a ball up on the outer wing.
Judging for me, Melbourne are just lacking players that are prepared to take the game on. We know Lumumba will do that, but today just haven't had any run from behind. A lot of chipping, trying to maintain possession of the football, but just not going forward.
Vince kicks it inside 50 for the Demons. Trying to rove it front and centre was Garlett, missed it. Picked up by Daniel Pearce at half back to Mzungu to McFarlane. Now Mundy gives it off to Clancy Pearce. And that's 3 quarters in the books as Fremantle chasing their first minor premiership. And they're just 1 quarter away. They've extended the margin at every change. 30 points at quarter time, 43 at the half. And now 48 points clean at 3 quarter time. 14-5-89 Clint plays Melbourne 6-5-41.
So Corbin having a look at the goal kickers for the Dockers. Pearce and Pavlich with 3 apiece. De Boer has 2. Singles to Main, Neal, Barlow, Mzungu, Ibbotson and Sanderlands. While for Melbourne, 2 goals to Garlett, singles to Watts, to Grimes, to Vince and to Hogan. Fremantle by 48 points. It is an impressive effort by the Dockers on the scoreboard. 14-5-89 to Melbourne 6-5-41. On ABC Local Radio and Grandstand Digital, this is Grandstand AFL.
Haywire had some amazing entries to this year's Haywire competition, but if you're still yet to enter, you still have time.
Tell us about your slice of regional Australia through video,
photos, text or audio. Get your story featured on the ABC.
And win a trip to this year's Haywire Summit in Canberra.
So come on, what's your story? Be part of something big. Head to abc.net.au/haywire. Entries close the 16th of September.
Grandstand AFL.
Punched away by Cross into the hot spot though. Oh, Daniel Pearce read it beautifully. Snaps around the body with the left. Terrific goal. He's got 3.
Grimes further forward to Hogan at centre half forward. Kicks off a stab. Hogan hooking around right to the goal line. He's put it through. Just 2 touches in the first half. Jesse Hogan on his return home gets a goal in the West.
Well, they've been better in this quarter, there's no doubt about that, Melbourne, but gee, Fremantle haven't come out to play, have they? They're just going through the motions in mine.
Down the outer wing, Main takes the mark for Freo. Here go the Dockers in transition. Quick kick out in front of Matt De Boer. De Boer runs onto the loose footy, no one ahead of him. Shut the gate, 2 bounces, strolls into the open square and kicks it. Main takes the mark. About 55 out, kicks inside 50. De Boer running back with the flight, takes the mark. To kick back-to-back goals, 11 minutes apart. He does just that.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
The Dockers a quarter away from securing their first minor premiership. They lead by 48 points. Earlier today, wins to Adelaide by 57 points over the Eagles, and Sydney beats St Kilda by 97 points. Here it's Fremantle 14-5-89 to Melbourne 6-5-41. Let's get the thoughts of our experts, Ken Judge and Andrew Embley.
Well, they were better, Melbourne. They were more competitive in that quarter, but still they were just outscored for the term. But look, they're a bit jilted in the way they go about it, Melbourne. There's not a lot of free-flowing footy. There's not a lot of overlap and run and those sort of things that can help you break the game open. They're very stagnant at times, I reckon, and they tend to chip the ball around rather than get the ball moving with some overlap and run and those type of things. Fremantle, on the other hand, they got a bit sloppy at times in that quarter, Fremantle. They just, particularly early in the quarter, they looked like they were just going, and then later in the quarter, they just missed some targets and they just looked like they were mucking around a bit with the ball. So, they've got a handy lead, 48 points at three-quarter time, but I wouldn't have thought Ross Lyon was overly impressed with the way they played in that quarter, Fremantle. As I said, maybe I'm taking a bit away from Melbourne, and we're just looking at those third quarter stats, Embers, and there's no doubt that a lot of them have evened up a bit based on how they've been going during the game. But at the end of the day, Melbourne have just got to look to try and save a bit of face in this last quarter. And Fremantle, on the other hand, would want to finish really strongly because, we're not quite sure what will happen with Fremantle next week, whether they'll rest players and all that sort of stuff. So if you're going to rest some players, you want to see them running the game out here today, not just sitting back and coasting their way through.
Yeah, definitely evened up things in that third quarter, Melbourne, but again, just too slow. Ball movement. Every time they take a mark, they'll just go back. I want to see them play on. I want to see them get some run from behind, trying to link up, move the ball quickly, because at times when they did do that, they've got options in their forward line. But if you don't, then Fremantle will get numbers back and put numbers behind the football, and eventually they'll put pressure on you to force that quick going inside your forward 50. And because they set up well behind the football, they're able to turn the footy over and then rebound, and Fremantle do that really well. As you mentioned, they were a little bit sloppy. I thought their hands in that quarter, Fremantle, they just fumbled a little bit. But overall, they've got this game in the bag. But as you mentioned, really important that they do run this last quarter out, the Fremantle Dockers. They kicked 14 goals today. They've had a spread of goal kickers. But I'd love to see Fremantle kick 5-6 in this quarter, get up to 20 goals, give themselves a bit of confidence heading into next week.
Let's have a look at the stats to three-quarter time. Fremantle on the one that matters lead by 48 points, and they've had 347 disposals to Melbourne's 270. The kicks to the Dockers 176 to 143. The hand passes to Fremantle 171 to 127, and they've got the marks to 88 to 74. The inside 50s 37 to 20. The contested possessions 105 to 81. The clearances 34 to 25. The tackles though won by Melbourne 55 to 44. The hit-outs to Fremantle 41 to 25. Sandlands with 34 of them, Gawn with 19. The free kicks to Freo 15 to 12. Individually, David Mundy's had it 25 times. So too Lockie Neal, Hill and Pearce, both 24 disposals. That's Clancy. Nick Subin and Michael Barlow with 23. Daniel Pearce and Matthew Pavlich with 20. McFarlane and Sheridan with 17 apiece. And while for the Demons, Cross with 29 disposals, Viney 23, Dunn 22, Salem 17, Garland 15, Grimes and Mitchie 14 apiece. Fremantle on their way to top spot for the first time in their history at the end of a home and away season, and for 17 wins in a home and away season also for the first time ever. Their lead is 48 points. Gobber Middlemass to get us started in the final term.
Up it goes for the final term. Both rucks jump early. Gord on the way down wins it. Viney had hands on the footy momentarily. Mitchie, quick hand pass back to Viney to Cross. Kicks to the outer wing. Howe running back takes the mark. Jeremy Howe between wing and half forward. Still a long way from goal. Southern wing, short kick to Jeddah. Won a premiership on this ground in the Colts with Swan Districts back in 2008. Was the Mel Winnan medalist, best on ground in that side. And kicks the ball across the ground to Cross at centre half forward. Strong mark and pressure from the ball late. He's still 70 out at centre half forward, and almost every player on the ground ahead of him. In Melbourne's forward 50, off to the Ted Tyson end as Cross picks a target and kicks it to him. Gawn floats through in front and takes the mark. So Big Maxi Gawn has a set shot here, 40 out, 45-degree angle.
It's been all right, Gawn, today, I reckon. It's battled hard for them.
He's worked back in defence pretty well, taking some really good intercept marks, and this particular time, moving forward, Fremantle just a few guys just standing around at the moment, no communication, which allowed Gawn to just lead into the space.
So Max Gawn, left half forward, 45 out, deliberate approach on the set shot, starts it out to the right and bends it back. It's a goal for Gawn. He's got his first of the day, 6th of the season, and Melbourne closed the gap to 7 goals. As we've said through the broadcast, it's all a little played out. Freo really had it won midway through the second quarter. They kicked the first 10 of the game.
Oh, well, that's a good start for them in the last quarter. If you're trying to put a bit of respectability into the score and you want to gain a bit of credibility, they've got to finish off this quarter well, Melbourne, and that's the ideal way for them to start.
Half the ground now in shadow as the sun sets to the right of our broadcast box in the west. Bounce of the footy. Sandilands palmed it down behind himself. Subin was meant for it, overran it. Viney was able to pick it up, though a hurried kick wasn't great to the outer side. Sheridan applies the tackle on stretch. Ball spills free again. Subin, who just kept running, sees the ball over the boundary line on true centre wing underneath the electronic scoreboard, southern side of Subiaco.
You both spoke about during the break how it would be nice to see Freo pump out a few goals here and hit the finals with a bit of form. It's 4-3-27 Fremantle to Melbourne, 7-3-45 since midway through the second quarter. 7 goals to 3 Melbourne's way.
So they've sort of put it back into second in junk time, Corby.
Well, it started really early midway through the second quarter.
He did, after kicking the first 10 goals unanswered. First ball went up, stoppage, no one got a clearance away. Second time it went aloft, again Stretch was involved. Tries to work it out. Sheridan picks it up. He gets tackled by a Stretch of Melbourne. Umpire's going to ball this up again. I reckon he will. Yeah, the whistle on centre wing.
The only problem is when it's 10 goals to none, that sort of start, you're coming from a long way back.
Yeah. Short kick from the Dockers to the outer side. Now, the ball, was he taken high? No, it's gone the other way. Howe gets the free kick. He thought about going down the line, then looked inboard. Now does go down the line to Gawn, who is marked on centre wing.
Did he hand that off then? He didn't dispose of the foot, he just handed it to his teammate. Is that what the free kick was for?
I think so.
Nevertheless, Melbourne here strolling into goal through Lyndon Dunn. He misses to the near side. I feel the forward's been swung around into defence and vice versa for both teams here. 4 minutes into the final term. Johnson heads straight down the middle to Barlow. Marks at centre half back. Comes out to half back for Fremantle. To Hill. He's had a good month. And amongst Fremantle's best in every game during that stretch. Goes all the way back to Johnson in the defensive 50. He'll work it round the southern side. Sandilands has got away from his direct opponent. Takes the mark, lays it off to to Sheridan. Not a heap up ahead. Heads along the boundary line to Subin. Second grab, takes it. Beneath the scoreboard. The left footer heads down to Mundy, who's all alone. Hogan gets across to stand the mark. Mundy about 60 out. Loads up on the right boot. Sets it up in Griffin's direction. In front, Barlow stands underneath it. Falls front and centre to Newton. Runs into trouble. Neil tackles him. Ball comes out to Salem. He's pinned to the ground. Umpire calls for it at half forward for Freo.
He ran hard, Mundy. Mundy was down here in front of us when that ball was on the other side of the ground. He's ended up running diagonally opposite to the other half forward pocket area to receive that last kick.
Clearance will be won by Melbourne. They head towards the commentary wing. The big fist of Zach Dawson punches it down. Dockers have it at right half forward. Hill gave it to Ibbotson. Sends it inside the forward 50. Griffin couldn't mark. Melbourne was back there. Cross now for the Demons to Salem. Has to get rid of it under pressure. Just got the kick away. Dawson again. The flying fist over the top. Sees it into the fence. Commentary side of the ground, left half back.
Watched Mundy pretty closely today, Judgy. Been really impressed with his work rate. Vince obviously has gone to him, and Mundy has just willed himself to contest, and he's just always on the move. He's having another fine year.
Throwing right up forward for Fremantle. Came down from Griffin. Barlow kicked around the body into the hot spot. At the back, Mundy gathers. Hand passes back inboard to Main. On in turn to Duffield. Got tackled as he got a kick away that rolled towards goal and then wouldn't turn and rolls over for a minor score. Missing to the left-hand side. Fremantle's lead out to 42 points. 90 playing 48.
Salem, long kick out to half-back. Looking for Hogan. Offhand, it's out of play. Boundary throw-in.
Mundy actually spent a little bit of time forward in the second half as well.
Yep. He's down there now, I think, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. The boundary umpire spins it back in. Half forward for Freo. Sandilands wins it. Howe makes his way through traffic. Gave it to Neil Bullen, who was stationary. Lost it. Now Mzungu. Hand pass back to Howe. Melbourne win it back. Matt Jones just clears the area. High up and under to Dawson and Hogan. Hogan in front. A hand in there from Dawson. Little kick away. Straight to Vince, though. Held to him on the ground. Eventually spills out. Quick hand pass forward from Grimes. Picked up by Clancy Pearce. Now Mzungu. Freo back with it. A long kick to centre half forward. Main through the hand at it. Slips at the back. Picked up by Grimes. Kicks out towards half back. And this is Mitchie. Takes the mark at left half back for Melbourne.
Running towards the line is Cross. Mitchie's kick goes that way. Under pressure from Main. Good mark to Cross. The veteran in game 248 is up. Looks to play on by thumping it long towards left half forward. Dockers out after it. Unable to mark it. The Spur spills to the ground. Garlett over the top of it. Worked it out the back. Spur was there again. He gets wrapped up and tackled. Ball not coming out. I think this will be holding the ball. It will be. Tackle came from Dunn. It's against Spur for making no effort, no genuine attempt to get rid of it. And then he won't hand it back straight away either here, Spree. Have to be lucky. Yeah, well, I reckon it was too. So Dunn eventually ignores all that. Plays on, sends it long inside attacking 50. Hogan tries to drag it in one-handed and couldn't. Slipping over was Garlett. Couldn't quite get to it. Ibbotson back there again. Neville rather does the tackling of Ibbotson and throws him into the ground. It's been locked up. There'll be a ball up about 55 out from the attacking goal for the Demons. Still think that should have been 50 because Spur made no effort to return that ball. Thrown aloft. Gawn almost caught unawares. Tapped it down. Going through. Mzungu tries to work his way through the pack. Got a short hand pass away. Back into traffic. Clancy Pearce has it held to him. They'll ball it up. 14 minutes left in this game. Fremantle 14-6-90. Melbourne a 7-6-48.
Mundy, third man up, swats it down. Vince somehow comes up with a footy. Gets a kick inside 50. Spur running back, takes the mark. Again in the defensive 50 for Fremantle across the goal mouth. McFarlane takes the chest mark. Short kick out to halfback. Little hand pass from Sutcliffe to Johnson, back to McFarlane, further afield to Daniel Pearce, backed up against the boundary line. Well, great smother from Cross. The ball ricochets to Fremantle's advantage though. Unfortunate for the Demons, picked up by Clancy Pearce, kicks beyond the wing, looking for Langdon. Haven't called his name a lot in the second half. Sliding in is Grimes, hand pass out to Langdon, superb from Main. Langdon kicks to the top of the goal square, Barlow the target, one-on-one with Oscar McDonald. It's helped over the line by Garlett, the boundary throw-in.
Just watching before, Matt Jones had an opportunity to press up with the ball carrier and put pressure on, but in the end, his mindset was just to run back. And when you do that, there was an overlap, and Fremantle were able to get numbers, and before you knew it, they linked up, and they were able to move the ball really quickly. But just a bit of confusion at the moment for some of these young Melbourne players, whether to run forward and put pressure on the ball carrier, or do they just push back and get numbers behind the football.
Demons headed down the outer side. Garlett got it across to Cross and then on to Vince. Now it's to the outer side with a kick as Hogan marks just forward of centre wing. There's the bright yellow boots on today. Former Claremont junior Jesse Hogan pops it towards right half forward. Spur might have been worked out from underneath it by Jeddah, not to be. Ibbotson behind him, picked it up, shoveled the pass towards the boundary line by hand, and it's over for a throw-in. Fremantle's lead 42 points. Gorn will stand alongside Griffin again. Thrown back in. One down by Griffin. Mundy sweeps the hand pass back inside the defensive 50. Gets it to Ibbotson. Kicks towards centre wing out of side. Main put his arm up. Couldn't mark. Spilled down to Cross. Gave it to Vince. Goes back to Cross. Melbourne have it on centre wing. Short kick finds Gorn, who marks just forward of the wing.
Lays it off by hand to the run of Garland, who loads up. Kicks it long in the Hogan direction. Top of the goal square. Dawson getting back. Free kick. Infringed upon against Dawson. It'll be Hogan's free kick. Wasn't watching the footy as it came in, and Jesse Hogan, slide angle, will kick from 10 out.
Yeah, fair enough. Once you take your eyes off the football like Zach Dawson did, then it's going to be a free kick every single time.
There's a target that the Melbourne fans have got to sit into the ground.
Hope he's not kicking it there.
I was about to say, I don't think it's of any help at all, because at the moment it's right next to the left-hand goalpost. He's going to miss if he aims at it.
Might have to kick it at Jack Watts' head, which is a cardboard cut out behind the goals. Here's Hogan for his second. He pops it through. So goalless last week. Jesse Hogan's kicked a couple in his first AFL fixture in Perth. Racing 2, you'd think, for the rising star with Patrick Cripps as the race heats up. A round to go on the scoreboard here. Fremantle have had it in their keeping for a long while. 14-6 to 8-6. The Dockers by 36. 11 played in the last.
Who wins it, you reckon?
I'd say Hogan.
I
think he's the outside. I think in the
Cripps has been good. But I reckon Hogan's
Cripps has been very good, but Hogan's...
Is it the key position
41
player
goals.
first year?
41 goals.
Player, yeah.
I think he's been incredible. And considering that Melbourne have only won six games, they've lacked supply, I think he's just been absolutely enormous.
He's second in the betting market for whatever it's worth behind Cripps. So Cripps about $1.80 favourite.
I just simply put it down to key position player first year. You kick 41 goals against a midfielder who's been great in Cripps. Let's not get it wrong, but Hogan surely.
And he's in a big fight in the middle of the ground that Hogan's in right now. He might cop him a couple $1,000.
Yeah, he's certainly involved in a wrestle in the centre circles as the play moves on, and the Dockers have got it across half back. Johnson elects to kick towards right half forward. Corbin, you watch the fight, I'll watch the footy. There he's trying to work it out as Salem gets knocked off the footy. Now it's with Langdon. Bounces up on Deboo for the Dockers. Sends it towards the hot spot. Main goes up. Couldn't mark. Good spoil. Actually in front trying to mark it rather was McDonald. Garlett got it away. Howe to Garland. Melbourne have it now through Cross. Deep in the left back pocket to Garlett once more. Hand pass missed. Grimes. Sat up for Clancy Pearce. Then to Neal, to Barlow, now to Hill. He'll snap around the body and kick the goal. His 99th goal in AFL football, Stephen Hill. And it came from yet another Melbourne turnover today. Fremantle put their lead out again. They've got 15 goals, 15-6, 96 to Melbourne, 8-6, 54. It's a 42-point advantage to the Purple Haze.
Well, it's the 10th goal kicker, so that's another good point from Fremantle's point of view. They've actually shared the load with their goal kicking. We're talking about them needing to kick more goals, and one of the ways to do that is to share the load, and they've done that today. So, but yeah, once again, just an error by Melbourne, an unforgivable error, really. Missed handball, back into the corridor again, Embers, and they paid the ultimate price for it.
Who won the fight, Corby?
It wasn't much in it.
Triple G.
Yeah. Remember, the rising star is the fairest and best too, so important that Jesse stays out of that. In the middle of the ground, and away towards Neal. He just came bursting through, won the footy for Fremantle. To Johnson, to Ibbotson, back to Lockie Neal. At centre half back, heads out wide with his kick. Langdon the target, one-on-one with Salem. Langdon picks it up, hand pass away to Mzungu for Fremantle. Kicks down to half forward, there's no one there. Grimes takes the mark for the Demons, uncontested.
I reckon if Triple G was playing, he'd get your vote, Corby.
He would, all three.
That's why he's triple.
He's 6 up for him. 6 up for grabs. Gives it back to McDonald. McDonald goes back to Grimes, heads down the wing to Oscar McDonald.
For people who don't know, who are you talking about?
Gennady Gedanovic Golovkin, the middleweight champion of the world, Clint.
Very impressive. Just wanted to let people know Clint Thomas is downstairs. What's the news?
Popped that shoulder that he injured earlier in the game. In a fair bit of pain at the moment in the hands of the physio.
He'll come off the ground as the Dockers work it across half back. It's Neal who goes right back to fullback and finds McFarlane. McFarlane has to shield his eyes from the sun. This will be a difficult kick for him as it sets behind the 3-tier stand, the western end of the ground. So he elects to go long for distance, beyond defensive 50. Sandlands had arms up, couldn't mark in the pack. Oscar McDonald tried to get a kick away, dribbled on the ground. Main took it onto Mzungu. Now to Duffield. Just thumps it towards centre wing, and they'll get a free kick here, the Dockers. It was a tumbling-looking kick, but Griffin was infringed. And he has the ball on centre wing. Pops the hand pass over the top. Running on was Langdon. Hand pass wasn't great towards Duffield. This is a better disposal. Kicks it long towards full forward. 2-on-2 battle. Clever from Garland. Stuck out the right boot. Almost managed to get it to Mitchie. He couldn't mark it. Spilled away from him. In a pack. Barlow tries to emerge with it. Stolen away, though, again by Melbourne. Strong tackle came from Subin on Grimes. Ball jarred free. Tom McDonald forced to wrap up Duffield in the right forward pocket. They'll be balling it up.
Judge, I'll ask you, who's Fremantle's second best ruckman? I know Griffin's in the team at the moment. He probably hasn't done enough for me. Zach
he hasn't
Clark's
done a lot
in the
today,
wings.
but I reckon he's actually probably their second best ruckman. I reckon he's gone ahead of Clark.
Yep.
In the way they're looking at things now, I reckon. Well, Clark obviously got suspended last week, and I just reckon that he might be a case of he just hasn't done enough, often enough, when he comes back into the side.
We'll get more of an update on what's happening with Cam Sutcliffe and that shoulder problem in just a moment with Clint Thomas from the throw-in. Sandilands hooks it down behind into the path of Hill. A little fumble. Ricochets to Ibbotson. Wrapped up, lost it, got it away towards Stretch. He's tackled, held in. Clint Thomas.
Yeah, Corb, they've just popped his shoulder back in. He was in a fair bit of pain. He's just getting strapped up, restrapped by the physio at the moment.
Up it goes in Freo's forward 50. Stretch's kick smothered. Ricochets back into congestion, and the umpire still lets them go.
Well, you suggest he won't play next week?
Yeah. Of course, Fremantle will go 6 clear, a game and a half clear with 1 to play on top of the ladder in about 15 minutes' time. And a dead rubber next week for them before the first week of the finals here in Perth. They'll have a home final first up and guaranteed 2 home finals during the final series.
Tap was 1 down by Sandilands. Melbourne get a clearing kick away, only as far as half forward for Freo. McFarlane waited for it, got it on towards Duffield, puts it back towards the hot spot. Melbourne had the numbers. Howe floating across in front, timed his leap beautifully. Takes the mark defensively at fullback for Melbourne. 33,529 in. As Howe goes towards left half back. Viney surrounded by players. Just got it back to Mitchie. Gave it on to Garland. Goes long down the wing. Hogan wants it. Read it well. Takes the mark. Running by Newton. Receives the hand pass. Nowhere to go. Corralled towards the boundary line by Dawson. So they're forced to go back, Melbourne, to Gawn, who marks on centre wing. Sends it into the middle of the ground. In the centre square, Vince running by Mitchie. Stabs the pass towards Watts. He juggles the chest mark but was able to take it. Puts it out towards right half forward. Oscar McDonald out. Tapped it to his own advantage. Just keeps it in play. Goes back to Grimes. Ugly hand pass. Grimes picks it up off the deck. Now to Garlett. He's at right half forward. Puts it high up into the air to land inside the attacking 50. Clancy Pearce with a punch away. Spilled to Barlow. Got it on the hill. Surrounded by demons. Has to measure the kick but turns it over. Tom McDonald just marks forward of centre wing out of side.
So McDonald.
Talk about turnovers. Turnover city at the moment.
Hill takes the intercept mark at half-back.
This could be a world record, Clint. This might be the world record we're looking for.
Short kick.
Every time you can kick it to the opposition in 5 minutes of footy.
Well, it has to be the world record.
Is Daniel Pearce at half-back.
I tell you what, he's done it. We're going to get it. We are going to get it, I'm telling you.
Straight to Gawn. Here we go. Here's the next kick. Jack Watts just gets into his target. Billy Stretch. At full stretch.
He's hurt himself, has he? Oh, cramp.
I mean this with the greatest respect to Billy Stretch, but every time you hear Stretch, you do think of a nickname. The sort of thing you call your mate you play park footy with.
Goes back to Gawn. Gawn swings it to the opposite wing.
His father wasn't a bad player.
To Garland.
No, very good. 164 games with the Demons and 25 with Fitzroy.
In the middle of the ground, this is McDonald. The long kick inside 50. Doesn't hit anyone in particular. Rolls away in front of Neil Bullen and out of play. Boundary throw-in, half forward for the D's.
Stephen Stretch, of course, we're speaking of. Father of Billy Stretch. Official announcement on the scoreboard confirming the attendance to 33,529 for Fremantle's last home game of the season as Gawn wins the ruck, tap down, straight to De Boer. Got it on in turn to Neil. Kicks down the wing, picked up on the bounce. This is Main. Now moves it again to Daniel Pearce. He'll switch play to the outer side. Langdon, we know he likes the run. He does so. Takes a bounce, still going. A second, now a third. Can he... Well, I was going to say, would he take one more? But he turns it over with a kick inside attacking 50. Fine mark it was too to Grimes, who gave it back to Vince, who goes short to Matt Jones. Should have taken another one, really, and kept going. Ed Langdon, it opened up for him. He had the chance. But another turnover to mark down for Judgy as we kick towards right half back and Tom McDonald.
Judgy, I think Fremantle's last 4 kicks have been turnovers now.
Well, mate, it's a competition at the moment. Who's going to turn it over the most, I reckon?
Here's Vince, kicks it out wide to Salem. Takes the sprawling mark just inside the boundary.
I like Salem. He moves all right.
The winning goal against the Bombers last year in his 7th game. Salem centres to Garland. Garland out to half back. To McDonald. To Cross. Drops the mark. Gets up. Pokes the kick down the wing to Matt Jones. 15-6 to 8-6. Fremantle by 42 points. 21 played in the last. And this is the real heavy junk time stuff here. We've already had a fair bit of it since midway through the second quarter, where Fremantle kicked the first 10 goals of the game. And the absolute polish and shines come right off as McDonald kicks to the opposite half-back flank. To Grimes, pokes it further afield to Oscar McDonald on debut. The 7th debutant for Melbourne this year. Brother of Tom. Oh, dangerous kick, turns it over. Main takes the intercept mark. Hand pass away towards Mundy. Dishes it further afield to Lockie Neal. Open goal. And he kicks it. And the 3 figures up for the Dockers for the first time since round 8. A second for Neal. The Dockers cracked the ton. 16-6, 102. Melbourne 8-6, 54. 22 played in the last.
Mike just got himself the 3 votes there too. Lockie Neal. He's had a very big afternoon again. 34 touches, a couple of goals, but as we've said it all day, just another poor turnover by Melbourne. And
well, it was just waiting to happen, really, wasn't it? They were chipping the ball around. They were going nowhere. It was just a matter of time before they chipped it back to a Fremantle player, or missed chipping it to someone of their own.
So had an interesting week. Lockie Neal got stuck in an elevator doing a radio interview on Thursday.
Took a photo of it and put it on Twitter to prove to the coach why he was late for a meeting, apparently. Melbourne will win the clearance. Viney, he does keep trying. Hand pass was poor. The bootstraps of Neil Bullen. Freo tried to push it forward. Tom McDonald got in the way. Main got pushed out of the way. Stretch picks it up. Back to Tom McDonald, to the Demons. Now to Watts. So hand passed it at the knees of Tom McDonald. Gave him no chance. Couldn't pick it up. And Freo players dive on top of him to wrap it up on centre wing commentary side. Ball thrown aloft. Gawn slaps it straight back towards the boundary line. 1 bounce, 2, and then through the interchange gates for another throw-in. Clint Thomas is downstairs.
Yeah, Cam Sutcliffe's still on the bench, so I reckon we've probably seen the last of him today.
Matthew Pavlich subbed out earlier. No injury concerns. They're just making sure the captain's okay, the Dockers. And Sandlands takes it away after winning his own ruck tap. Had it knocked out of his hands. Big fella. Tried to go again, dived on the ground and won it out. Wonderful stuff as Barlow gets a kick towards right half forward that Garland takes over the boundary line and almost ran down the Fremantle race. What about Sandlands? Listen to this reaction. Not just for the hit-outs, and he's had 43 of them today, but for the second effort just then, magnificent.
And I reckon he threw it out.
Oh, well,
I don't think there's any handball involved in it.
Got away with it. Inside attacking 50 is Hill. Ugly looking kick chopped off by the Demons. It's locked in, big group around it in the right forward pocket. They'll be balling it up. Freo's lead 48 points, 24 gone final term. Earlier today, Adelaide by 57 over the Eagles and Sydney by 97 over St Kilda.
Gawn wins the tap, follows up his own footy, hooks it out of the defensive 50. Dawson spoils over the back of Hogan. Mundy picks up the loose ball, hand pass to Sheridan. It opens up for him from 45 out on the run. Bang, he's kicked it. A 17th for Freo, an 11th goal scorer. 17-6, 108. Melbourne 8-6, 54. 25 played in the last.
Well, that's one of the real positives. They've had 11 different goal scorers. I think that's a real positive for them, considering that we were talking about them not being able to kick some big scores recently. As I said, if you can share the load, it just makes the whole job a bit easier. And they've done that there today, Fremantle, so well done.
Clint Thomas is on the boundary.
Yeah, Cord, McFarlane, Sandilands and Pavlich all on the bench, so I reckon they might just be resting up the old fellas for an assault on September.
I think they also might be sitting out of next week too. If you're going to rest anyone, it would be your key older players. From the bounce, tapped down a second time by Griffin. Gawn went at him. Subin on hands and knees. Hand passes forward. Mzungu overran it. Barlow didn't, but gets tackled by Watts. Vince goes in to lend some assistance. They'll ball it up just inside Freo's attacking edge of the centre square. Ball aloft again. Third man up was Main. Won it down. Neil Bullen was there for the Demons. Tapped it into the path of Garlett. Works it forward to Howe. Did well. Rode the bumpers. He got a hand past the left half forward. Dunn's with it. Dunn will put boot to ball inside the forward 50. No mark to be taken. Mzungu gathers the crumbs. Goes to Subin. Wrapped up strongly. Umpire says we'll be balling it up inside Melbourne's attacking 50. Freo's lead is 54 points. They're 17-6-108. Melbourne 8-6-54.
As we spoke about off-air a little earlier, Fremantle's feeder team, Peel Thunder, in the finals for the first time next week. They could have much more than a waffle final. They might find themselves playing round 23 at the Adelaide Oval as Duffield clears the defensive 50 out to Main. I think the Mexican wave's going around the ground. He's picked up by Viney. Viney kicks towards the top of the goal square. Big spoil from Ibbotson back up the corridor. Picked up by Griffin. And Griffin just loads up, kicks it out wide, looking for Mundy. The kick's going against him for shipping Tom McDonald out of the contest.
I'm not sure about that. You can hold... Yeah, I don't know. What do you reckon, Josh?
Well, he backed back into him. I thought it was a free kick to Mundy for mine.
Just hold his ground. That's good body work.
McDonald kicks to the hot spot. There's no one there for Melbourne. Ibbotson marks virtually uncontested in the finish. The first goal of the day. He's got the footy in the final minutes here, Clint, in the deep in defence. Fremantle well out ahead by 9 goals.
So Ibbotson beyond defensive 50. Garland in front of the groups. Knocked it down. Subin going through. Couldn't gather cleanly. Got tackled and lost it. Mundy emerges with it. Beautiful kick down the line. Main diving forward. He was on his backside as he tried to hand pass to the inboard run of Hill. He lost it. Melbourne with a chance through Watts. Goes back by hand to Gawn. Almost knocked out of his grasp. Went again Gawn. Then overran it. Matt Jones is tackled just forward of centre wing. It's been locked in. Dean gets to throw it aloft again. It is a half-hearted at best Mexican wave that makes its way around the ground as Gawn won it out towards the boundary line. Chance for Mitchie for the Demons. He goes short and there's another turnover down the throat of Sheridan. He'll switch play across half-back. Waiting for it is Ibbotson. He'll go short. Fremantle have won their first minor premiership with a 54-point win over Melbourne. The Dockers 17-6-108 to Melbourne 8-6-54.
We are the Frio Dockers. Frio, way to go. Get 'em real high, send 'em down below. Oh, Frio, give 'em the old home. We are the Frio Dockers. We're the rollers, we're the rockers. We're the mighty Frio Dockers. We're gonna roll them and we'll rock them. We're gonna send them to the bottom. And if they get up, we'll do it again. The Dockers stop at nothing, nothing. Frio, way to go. Hit 'em real hard, send 'em down below. Oh, Frio, give 'em the old home. We are the Frio Dockers. Frio, way to go. Hit 'em real hard, send 'em down below. Oh, Frio, give 'em the old home. We are the Frio Dockers.
So for the first time since round 8, the Dockers have kicked more than 100 points and open the trophy cabinet because at last Freo have something of note to put in it. Their first ever minor premiership. And they've won 17 games for the home and away season with a round to go. Their best ever effort. Fremantle by 54 points. 3 goals to Matthew Pavlich, 3 to Daniel Pearce, 2 to Matt De Boer and to Lockie Neal, and singles to Ibbotson, to Sheridan, to Mzungu, to Barlow, to Main, to Sandlands and to Hill. 11 different goal kickers for the Fremantle Dockers. For Melbourne, Jesse Hogan kicked a couple, so too did Jeff Garlett. Individual goal kickers, Jack Watts, Max Gawn, Bernie Vince and Jack Grimes. But Fremantle setting it up with an absolutely superb quarter and a bit where they kicked 10 unanswered goals to put the Demons to the sword. And there will be more question marks again asked about exactly where Melbourne are at. Fremantle supporters, those in the purple, they won't care. They have locked up top spot, and there is a lot to look forward to in the finals. And the purple people that have remained, they'll wave their flags and rejoice as we hear from our experts, Ken Judge and Andrew Embley on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, well, when you look at the actual final scores, I suppose you could suggest that Melbourne were probably better after conceding 10 goals early in the game. From that point on, it was Melbourne kicked 8 goals to 7. So, but the damage was done early, and we've seen that in recent times with them. The same thing happened to them last week. I mean, so as much as you want to sit back and say, oh well, yeah, that was okay, they were better after a quarter. I mean, you can't afford to concede sides 10 goals to none starts. Particularly when you are where Melbourne are. So, look, Fremantle got the job done. They've got through the game, I reckon, without too many issues. I reckon they've rested Pavlich virtually from about halfway through the third quarter, wasn't they? Took him off, I reckon. Was it third quarter?
It was.
Yeah, so
yes,
I reckon they've given him a quarter and a half on the bench, basically. Might be a bit of a concern with Sutcliffe with his shoulder. He certainly hurt it earlier in the game, and then it looked like he appeared to dislocate it later in the game. So that's a concern in the next couple of weeks for them. But look, they did what they had to do today, Fremantle. As I said, their start was terrific. They opened up a fantastic winning lead, and they just sort of played out there. And I thought they just got a bit sloppy at times, perhaps in the second half, where they just messed around a little bit with the ball. But all in all, they were pretty impressive. And Melbourne, they were disappointing. Disappointing because, like you saw today, I'm not quite sure that we've seen enough improvement from them in the last couple of years, and that was what this was all about with Paul Roos coaching them. That we were expecting to see them, improve each year. Look, they're going to win a couple more games, sure, but when you lose games like that and concede 10-goal starts, it's not a good sign.
Very dominant, weren't they, the Fremantle Dockers, and starts in the middle of the ground, and Aaron Sandlands today just getting his hands on the football.
Yep.
And guys like Mundy and Neal and Barlow just had a field day running through the middle of the ground, just finding plenty of possession. Clearances, they just smashed Melbourne. Uncontested football, uncontested marks. It was almost a training drill for the first 2.5 quarters anyway. And when you can maintain possession of the football like Fremantle do, yes, they turn the football over at times during the game, but overall, maintaining possession of the football, moving the ball quickly into a forward line that looked really dangerous today. We've spoken about 11 different goal kickers. Pavlich was outstanding, 20 touches and 3 goals in about 3 quarters. And again, moving the ball quickly to guys like Pavlich. Sandlands push forward. We saw Mundy push forward as well and play a pretty important role. Neal kicked a couple of goals from the midfield too. So from a Melbourne perspective, we spoke about their first quarter. A lot was riding on the way they come out after the last couple of weeks, and they never responded. 10 goals to 0 in favour of Fremantle to start their game. So their pressure today was just not on Melbourne. Too many guys just trying to run back and get behind the football where they don't put any pressure on the ball carrier. And you allow a team like Fremantle to do what they like. No pressure on you. They're going to hit up targets all the time. So certainly something for Melbourne to look at. They really lacked a bit of spark. No one running from behind. Slow ball movement, judgy. But again, no one prepared to actually just take the game on. That's something that I think Melbourne are really lacking at the moment.
So the Fremantle Dockers players, they line up at the front of the race. They've gone around the ground, given a group of supporters some flags that they can wave for the rest of their campaign that will head into the finals after a trip to Port Adelaide next week. I think it's Stephen Hill, and indeed it is, who's decided to high-five every single Fremantle fan that's leaning across the fence here at Subiaco, who's holding everyone up to go down into the rooms and sing the song. Stephen Hill doesn't seem the slightest bit concerned by that. He continues to do his best to high-five every single person leaning over the fence on the commentary wing. Well done to him. He had a terrific game today.
Obviously, last regular season home game. So AFL fixtures for finals. Tickets will go on sale, but they will have the chance, or they will play here twice, Fremantle, at a minimum. Whether that's week 1 and week 3 or week 1 and week 2, depending on what happens in their qualifying final. But obviously top of the league.
And highly likely to play Sydney.
Yeah,
it would look that way.
Yep. Week 1, and then who knows what happens from there.
We'll have a look at the ladder as we wrap everything up after 5:30 and recap the weekend. But let's head down into the Fremantle rooms. They're making their way off the ground. You can see the delight as they make their way down the tunnel. Clint Thomas is downstairs in the Dockers rooms.
Thanks, guys. The players are rolling through as we speak. The minor premier is the first time the Dockers have won the minor premiership. There's a few boys down here as well that play for Peel, who defeated South Fremantle yesterday, so they could be getting a game next week with the Dockers already having sewn up top position. Now the players are just mulling around at the moment, about to link arms. Looks like Ed Langdon, the first gamer, will be in the middle. Let's go in and have a listen to the song. There you go, the Fremantle players pretty happy with this one, with this win. We should have an interview very shortly, guys.
And drenched as you would expect, Ed Langdon, the third Docker to make his debut in 2015. Quickly to the stats, and then we'll hear a bit more from Ken Judge and Andrew Embley. But in terms of total disposals, Fremantle 440 to Melbourne's 372. The kicks to the Dockers 223 to 204. The hand passes to Freo 217 to 173. In terms of marks, Melbourne won. A short chipping style, I guess, tells you that. 109 to 107. Inside 50s to Freo, 49 to 40. They also won the contested possessions, 143 to 115. The clearances, 44 to 37. The tackles to Melbourne, 88 to 70. The hit-outs to Freo, 57 to 36. Sandilands with 43. Gawn with 30. The free kicks, fascinatingly, won by Melbourne, 17 to 16. In terms of effective disposals, Fremantle 78%, Melbourne 74%. There were 104 stoppages in the game. Individual disposals, David Mundy had 35 touches, Lockie Neal with 34, Barlow 31, Stephen Hill 30, Clancy Pearce 27, Nick Subin with 25. Daniel Cross led all comers on the ground. The Melbourne player with 39, Viney with 30, Dunn 25, Garland 22, Grimes 22, Vincent Gawn both with 21. Fremantle by 54 points to wrap up their first minor premiership. The Dockers will finish top. Next week they travel across to take on Port Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval. Melbourne have GWS on Sunday at the Docklands. Fremantle 17-6-108 to Melbourne 8-6-54.
Clint, the widest round of the season. If you look at terms of margins, the closest game was 23 points. Western Bulldogs, North Melbourne last night, and then you skip out to 27 points and 37 points. Obviously, the two games today, blowouts, 9-goal win for Fremantle and Adelaide, and Sydney by 97 points. You have to go back to round 8, which was an 11-point margin between Fremantle and Adelaide. That's the previous closest. Every other round's had single-figure results. So all the games sort of quite decisive in the end. It was a pretty good game yesterday, the Western Bulldogs and North Melbourne match, but other than that, the weekend's been pretty lopsided.
And a tough one too for tipsters. A few surprises as well there too. So Fremantle winning here. We'll look ahead to next week shortly, but before we gloss over this game, Fremantle picking up the minor premiership. The focus on Melbourne, it was pretty intense this week across on the other side of the country. I would suggest, gentlemen, that there will still be a few more questions raised this week in terms of if Paul Roos wanted a reaction, and he said he was angry, and Ross Lyon even in his press conference saying he had never seen a player or a person that he played with, a person he'd coached with, be that angry as Paul Roos was this week. If he wanted a response to start the game, he hardly got it. How did Melbourne respond? What does Paul Roos do?
Well, it was a poor return. It was a poor effort, you know, and you appeal to your players and the fact that they got to get angrier and they've got to get angry with each other and they've got to get angry, you know, that's what he was basically saying, you know. if we're too nice, you can't be nice and expect to do any good in this caper. You got to actually have a bit of grunt in you and a bit of resistance and a bit of steel about you. We didn't see any of that in the for the first 10 goals that were scored in this game. It was 10 goals to none. Game was gone, absolutely gone. So that's disappointing. As I said, they'll probably draw from it that they the second half it was 6 goals to 4. Fremantle outscoring them by a couple of goals, but the game was won and lost in the first. When it was 10 goals to nothing. The game, it was done and dusted. They were never going to be able to come back from that big a start. As competitive as you want to say you're going to be after that, that was poor, and that was a poor response to a bloke who was seriously, I reckon, the other day he was genuinely disappointed. I reckon he was genuinely upset with where things were at. And I think he was appealing to his players to offer up something to at least say, hey, what we did deliver up wasn't good enough. They didn't deliver anything when it mattered at the start.
Is there a problem knowing that there is, and it was brought up again during the week, knowing that no matter what happens, you would suspect Paul Roos sees out next season and then just simply passes over to Simon Goodwin? Is that a reason there is a problem with Melbourne? Could that have any impact on what we're seeing and how they're going about things?
Well, that's what's going to happen, definitely. And I think he's indicated he'd be prepared to stay around. I mean, not necessarily in such a formal sort of role, but I think he's, what I can glean, he sort of said, look, I'm happy if they think there's a role somewhere in the on the edges of still sort of being around, but they'd need to make some serious improvement next year for this thing to have worked, in my opinion. And I would have thought that they'd be wanting to win 8 or 10 games next year, finish 11th or 12th, 10th or 11th even, to say that this Paul Roos exercise has worked properly. Now, they've got a few blokes out, I've got to say. When you look at this, there's a few of their preferred players who didn't play today. But, if you're going to be any good, you've got to have depth. If you're going to be any good, you've got to have, some of the blokes that are playing there today are going to be a big part of what's happening in the future. What they delivered up today wasn't good enough, particularly in that first, when there's 10 goals to none.
Yeah, just watching Melbourne today, there's real concerns with the way they play for mine. Defensively, no pressure on the ball carrier. That was the first thing. Players just running back. I mean, the game's changed. You're running forward now. You're putting pressure on the ball carrier. Where just watching Melbourne play today, just get numbers back behind the football. And what that does, it allows the Fremantle midfielders to be able to just have too much time with their decisions, and you can have numbers back behind, but I'll tell you what, no pressure on the ball carrier, Fremantle players will be able to find targets. So that was a big one for me.
Good sides exploit you, don't they?
They do, absolutely. Just watching some of the stoppages as well, Fremantle just came around the back all the time. Now, for my liking, the half forward for Melbourne was just too deep. So if they want to keep coming back in that spot and getting guys like Hill and Neal to keep running around, where's the pressure from the half forward coming up and tackling every single time? Wasn't there whatsoever. And I guess offensively as well, just too slow. The amount of times that Melbourne players today took a mark and actually just did not play on, didn't look to play on, was just frightening, And the game again, you're watching the Bulldogs and West Coast last week, just the amount of times that people just took a mark, quick little handball, and just go, get the ball going forward, and just too slow for my liking. Fremantle get numbers back, and eventually they will go forward, but they're just kicking the ball to the Fremantle defenders.
Put your coaching hats on, Ken. You've got experience at this. Next week, you're Fremantle, and I know Ross Lyon had said in the past that resting wasn't really on the horizon. It has to be now, surely. Who gets next week off if you're the Fremantle Dockers?
Well, I think he half put that in play today when he took Pavlich off. Pavlich wasn't injured as far as I could see. He just gave him a rest, an ageing player and who didn't play last week. So you'd think that he probably won't play next week. And he was quite good, Pavlich, when you look at his figures. He had it 20 times in 2.5 quarters. So
3 goals.
And kicked 3 goals, yeah. So I think he probably doesn't. Interesting to see what they do with McFarlane, whether they rest him as well, whether they rest Sandilands is probably another one. I mean, I think they're the blokes they're looking at probably most likely to be resting.
Johnson needs the games. You'd expect he would play.
Well, he's just starting to find his feet again after missing all that. So
I would expect McFarlane will miss. Alex Pearce will come in for him.
Barlow might get